Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, everybody. This is Punch Drunk Nerd, the podcast where three friends, three amigos, three bambinos, three buddy old pals come together to talk about nerd shit. I'm Luis Gonzalez, and with me is...
Miguel Sanchez.
And Ed Bull.
That's right. The trio is back, and today we're going to talk about some nerd news. Now, we're going to just jump right into some trailer talk, okay? 2 big trailers dropped. First one, Ed. I'm gonna give this to you. I'm passing the ball to you.
Okay, let me set the scene. Bum,
Yeah.
bum, 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 ba, 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 ba. Yes, it's Indiana Jones and the what?
The Dial of Destiny.
Yes.
What does that mean?
I don't know. But it could be like a telephone. But the new trailer and title for the new Indiana Jones 5, or in some people's mind, the 4th movie, released the other day. What was it? It's like Brazil is having a Comic-Con right now or something like that.
I think so,
Where
yeah.
they dropped this? Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, India's back. This time directed by James Mangold. We can assume maybe this is the last outing. But yeah, Harrison Ford is back at the ripe old age of 80-something.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. Consider it like, I think of like my dad's state and the fact that Harrison Ford is still doing this shit.
I gotta say, me and Luis, I feel like we were on the same page where this movie, one, doesn't necessarily need to happen. Harrison Ford is respectfully maybe a little too old.
Mm-hmm.
But watching the trailer, I was kind of blown away by like how good he looks and how he looks like he's primed and ready to go for another adventure.
Yeah. Leading up to this, I feel like they did a good job of just kind of putting it out there that yes, they were going to be using de-aging technology to, I guess, just ready expectations. And I mean, what did you guys think of that? I thought it didn't look half bad, but granted, these are just like little snippets. So seeing it in context and seeing like dialogue scenes or action scenes, it might vary, but yeah.
I mean, kind of like The Irishman, right? We talked about this at one point with Robert De Niro kicking the guy in that one scene that looked kind of out of place,
right?
But here, fingers crossed. Do you know what I mean?
I hope it looks good. I mean, in the snippets it looks great, but sometimes when you keep watching it for a longer enough time, it starts to
looks
get
weird.
Like, it looks weird. So now it looks the de-aging I do not have an issue with.
Like the scene where he cracks the whip, like whap 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 over all those people. It looked good in the trailer.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed that it holds up.
That's one thing I loved about this was, but in between the iconic score, they also brought back the good old punching and whip sound effects. Like, I was just like, yes, you felt it. I'm excited. It's got a good cast. It's got Mads Mikkelsen, Phoebe Waller-Bridge is playing, I guess, his goddaughter, and that Boyd Holbrook from Logan. He
which makes sense because James Mangold directed.
He worked
Logan.
with James. Yeah.
You think they'll bring back a short round for this?
Man, I would love
as like
that.
a little,
just a little one. They already, I mean, maybe they brought back John Rhys Davies, so who knows? Maybe so.
Could be cool.
It would be incredible. I'm excited. I was pleasantly surprised at just how solid it looked, and I'm ready for it. I'm ready for another indie adventure.
No, yeah,
I feel like I'm
sorry. I'm actually.
You looked like you were going to say something.
No, truthfully, I'm watching I'm seeing the trailer as we speak again. So you're talking about it. I'm like, oh yeah. No, it's exciting. I'm looking at it. It's like definitely harkening back to the original Indiana Jones and the vibes that you're getting from it. And it brings it to a more modern light. So it's like, what do you expect?
If you do a rewatch before this movie comes out, of
absolutely.
Are you going to watch Kingdom of Crystal Skull?
No.
Yes. I would.
Will you, Miguel?
I haven't seen it since I saw it in the theaters. I did, Ed and I, we were on a podcast, on Scott White's podcast, maybe, a year plus ago, we were talking about that, where we watched Indiana Jones, and I was pleasantly surprised about how much I really enjoyed those first 3 movies. So I'm definitely going to rewatch them.
Absolutely.
And I think for the sake of it, just to see if they talk about it, I'll probably do Kingdom of Crystal Skull too.
Because maybe it'll just lower our expectations before the last movie.
It'll really balance it out. Yeah,
it'll just be like, well, this was really fucking good, actually.
We should do a podcast. It comes out June 30th. We should do a podcast where we do like a rewatch of the Indiana Jones.
Ed, buddy.
Make my day.
No, wrong day.
But that wasn't the only trailer to drop, was it?
No. Marvel also came out with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Miguel sent out this trailer through text in our chat, and he was like, I'm crying, y'all, right after watching it.
I was surprised at how kind of choked up I got. Was I bawling? No. But I mean, I was at work and I was like, let me fucking wipe this tear away before my boss sees me. Because, it was like, okay, I appreciate the emotional impact that they're going for. I'm fucking terrified about Rocket. I think Drax might die too. Or maybe not. He's just going to get like a solid goodbye.
Yeah.
And then there's Chris Pratt,
Ed, what'd you think of this trailer?
Yeah, so the fact that it dropped at the same time as Indiana Jones trailer, it was not the top of my priorities.
No.
I'll be fair. So yeah, I watched that one like 6 times, and then I watched Guardians maybe once those first couple of days, but rewatching it, I mean, it seems like a solid continuation. I'm excited for Nebula. She seems to be in a good place.
Her character seems to continue to grow. Like she's just always growth. Yeah,
like finally getting to enjoy her life. You know what I mean? And yeah, we've still got to see how they bring back Gamora. I don't think their suits look very good.
It's definitely what they're doing, and what Marvel's doing recently is they're
making bad costumes.
They're totally they're like, hey, you know what? Fuck it. We're gonna bring these comic accurate costumes into play. And so they're doing it. They did it with Daredevil. They're doing it with other stuff, and they're like, "Hey, this costume was in the comics. Let's bring it back and tie it in together, narratively in the storyline." Do you know what I mean?
I'll die on this hill, but I
know you will.
I hate it. I don't think it is necessary at all. I think if every now and then someone wants to schmack a comic accurate suit on screen, okay, that's cool. But I just don't think it's necessary. I think it's fan service in a way that it doesn't do anything for me, so I don't like it. Okay,
we'll see how they do.
It's a disservice.
Sometimes they're pretty clever about finding a way for those things to fit. Like in WandaVision, they called it like a hex.
I like that,
and it was a hex because of the shape hexagon. You know what I mean? So they're able to incorporate that into it. Like, and then in Namor, his name, Namor, like
Namor.
See, Namor. So they'll always find clever ways to really shoehorn these things in from like past. It's like a puzzle game, I did watch, and I shared it with you guys. I don't know if you did. I know Ed didn't. But the leaked Comic-Con trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy, that one they showed in Comic-Con for Volume 3, and it was they were like,
all right.
I said it to you, and you're like, I'm not going to watch some trailer where the guy is showing it from his lap and you see like a corner of it or something like that.
Oh, well, yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, so they recorded a portion of it, and I've seen it, and in it, they're like looking for someone, and first thing you see is Gamora, and Peter sees Gamora, and they have like this really honest like moment And he's kind of processing that. So it starts off very seriously, and it goes to the music of the Flaming Lips. Do you realize? In the lyrics, right. Do you realize that happiness makes you cry? Do you realize that everyone you know someday will die? And so it has all of these. It played all the visuals played really well with the music. It was somber. It was respectful. I think this new trailer was a little bit silly, kind of like what Ant-Man did, a little bit silly up top too, just to kind of feed that the audience. So if you thought this was heartfelt, I really wish that they released the Comic-Con trailer.
They should,
because it was super heartfelt. I honestly, what I tried to do, I tried to take that trailer and recreate it from the Comic-Con stuff, but I didn't have enough footage. Some of the footage changed. They didn't show everything. But I mean, you know, Guardians of the Galaxy doing its thing. I think I'm excited to see, the whole Rocket thing. Apparently he's going to get a new lady girlfriend with that little other...
A rabbit.
The rabbit. I don't think it's a rabbit, right? Or what is it? It's another rodent.
Not really. I was just making a joke. Because...
A ferret. What? You making jokes?
Just like because he was... Yeah, making jokes. Fucking Thor called him a rabbit, so he actually just ended up fucking a rabbit, all right?
Yes,
That's where I was going with that.
Oh, well, it should have been a rabbit. That would have been funny. Wait, hold on. Guys, we're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
This is in Phase 5. We haven't even talked about Phase 4 yet, and Phase 4 just ended with Guardians of the Galaxy, the holiday special. Okay? I can't continue talking about the news and what we're into because we need to take a second. We need to take a step back and talk about Phase 4 and wrap up and give our top 10 MCU picks. What do you guys think?
Are you talking about a ranking?
I'm talking about a ranking, baby.
Woo! I'm ready for it. Let's do it.
All right,
Next thing you're going to be telling us we're having a surprise guest.
We're going to have a surprise guest. We're going to have a surprise segment. What? That's right. It's the MCU Top 10 of Phase 4. Now here we go. Okay, everybody. Now, just as Spotify has wrapped up the year 2022, we too are wrapping up Phase 4 of the MCU. But we do have a special guest for us for this special episode. It's Francesca Rivera.
Woo!
So Francesca and I work together at IGN. She does reviews, articles, breakdowns, and she was actually the first person I talked to about superhero stuff at the office. And then a couple weeks ago, we were talking about Phase 4. And 5 minutes into it, I was like, Francesca, you got to jump on the podcast.
This is a lie. I begged him. I was like, Luis is so cool, and he has his podcast. And I was like, I'm working on this Phase 4 thing. And Luis and I were like talking about the same things. And I was like, this guy knows. He gets it. So
no, I was having
him.
I know. I feel like the rest of the internet is like on this whole other conversation about Phase 4, and you and me are in the same place. I don't really know about Miguel and Ed. We've talked about it here and there, but I'm really interested to hear your reactions about Phase 4. We're gonna rank them. We're gonna do our top 10. We're gonna do all that good stuff. But before we do that, I wanted to throw some numbers out there about Phase 4. Very interesting stuff. Over the span of 2 years, there have been 18 movies and shows, while Phase 1, 2, and 3, the entire Infinity Saga, was 23 films over 11 years. So 23 over 11 and then 18 over 2. It's pretty crazy. Is that right, Francesca? That sounds about right?
I guess. I was like, the way you were saying them just sounded like fractions, so I was just trying to like figure that math out. I think Ed's doing that math too.
It's 18.
But yeah, I just wanted to give we want to do our quick reactions or quick responses of Phase 4. I'll start off and just say, listen, I think this was a tremendously difficult task for them to follow up with Infinity Saga, and you don't want to follow up with the same formula, but you also want to maintain that Marvel love. And I know not everything was perfect, but you know what? I love them being experimental. You know what I mean? I love them just trying to do all of these things, swinging for the fences, really trying to challenge themselves. I mean, look at all their different content. I feel like they're trying to do different things, and I really can't blame them for that. So Phase 4, not all great, not all amazing, some really good, but super experimental, and I'm here for it. You know, how do you follow up Phase 1, 2, and 3? You know, how do you stand up to that? But enough about me. Francesca, what were your thoughts about Phase 4?
I kind of just want to like pick up where you just last left off, because we don't 1, 2, and 3. We just kind of saw that building as it was going. We didn't know it was going to be a whole saga at the end. We're just like, cool, we're just getting all these heroes, and they do team up movies, and now it's like, oh, here's one big bad. But yeah, Phase 4. I'm defending it. That's my stance at work, and I'm defending it out on the streets like a superhero myself for the movies. Not that they need defending, but they're fine. They're fine. They can do without our opinions at all. But I do agree. It was a very difficult task, and bringing a lot of new characters in, 18 projects, you said, like, it's tough, and getting people used to like all of the stuff they were putting out. I think it was a tough task to also restrain themselves, because they could have just released like 4 at a time, but they're like, we have a plan. We're treating these as if we're releasing our movies. So just be patient with us. And I think people do need to be patient overall, but I definitely understand the impatience and the frustration with a lot of the projects on a case-by-case basis. But in the larger picture, I'm more forgiving and can and I'm waiting to like see how it pays off in Phases 5 and 6.
Yeah. What about you? Let's see, who's next? Is it Miguel? Miguel.
So I agree with like being patient and seeing what it's a transition, you know what I mean? And sometimes transitions can be a little hard. I definitely was a little overwhelmed. I mean, 18 projects was a lot. I mean, I have a list of 1, 2, 3, 4 of them that I didn't actually get to. You know what I mean? And I mean, I could have, just didn't. This was the first time in a while where I felt like, oh, not clear on the picture. You know what I mean? But there were a lot of, with trying new things, you know what I mean? Some hits, some misses. I think the hits were strong and the misses were stronger in a way, you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm waiting to hear what you guys have to say.
What about you, Ed?
Yes, I agree with most of what you and Francesca was saying in that it was definitely a rocky start, and I feel like if anything, the movies and the shows that adhered to the Marvel structure more were the movies that weren't or shows that were as good. But the ones that were more experimental and trying something new and kind of just going out on a limb, introducing either new characters or new structures, those were the more rewarding. And I mean, we'll get into some of them, but more recently we've seen like things like She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, and Werewolf by Night and stuff, where they've kind of tipped that structure on its head. And it's just having fun, like you guys were saying. They're having fun with it. We're in this phase where, yes, there is a whole lot more to the Marvel world than what we've seen cinematically, and we're just dipping our toes now. Like, we're stretching our legs, we've made the money, so we're gonna try all kinds of genres, all kinds of characters, you know? I mean, yeah, there's a whole catalog of characters that, I mean, most of Marvel characters I was not familiar going into the MCU. And, I mean, that's only continuing. So, like you said, I mean, it's easy to want to have those expectations for, like, okay, I'm ready for my next, like, why is this not building up to an Avengers film? Right. Or whatever. But if that happened, then we'd be complaining about that. So, it is a fine line, and like we all said, it's been a little rocky. There's been a lot of misses as well as a few hits here and there, but yeah, it's been an interesting ride. But to Miguel's point, it has been overwhelming, and even if you aren't able to catch all the content, like I was thinking today, I don't think there's a lot of the shows and or movies where I've even had time to go back and rewatch them. So it's a lot of these I'm going off of kind of like a one view opinion, you know. So it's definitely straining one's attention with the amount of content that they're coming out.
Yeah, it's difficult because they're put in a position where, like, for Disney Plus, they're the moneymakers. You know what I mean? Yeah. It feels like Disney Plus is like, okay, Marvel, for the love of God, please come out with more and more content every single month. I mean, we had that one time where it was like Moon Knight, then She-Hulk, then where like it was like back to back to back. We're getting all this content
with 3 Star Wars shows in between.
Yeah, and movies on top of it, where it's just
and
like
movies. Huh.
It's just like if you're Marvel and you're like, holy shit, like we're doing great. We get to make all these different properties and kind of create all these crazy new storylines, but also we're under the gun by Disney Plus or whatever to like pump these out, and to be under that amount of stress, of like, again, following up and almost resetting the whole Marvel cinematic universe, you know, by rebuilding up these new characters with Moon Knight, with She-Hulk, with, you know, Miss Marvel, blah, 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 all of these people. You kind of have to take a second to breathe and let these characters be themselves. We have to kind of wipe away that first saga and just start fresh, I think. But yeah, I think, and you know what? I don't dog them because I know that everyone working in those movies, well, except for the VFX team, I'm so sorry. But everyone that working in those movies, like, really love, making them. You know, you can feel the love. When you're watching it, you feel it. They're all collaborating. They're all willing to try something new. And because of that, I'm always like down for this journey. Anytime they throw something up, I know it's made with love. I do want to.
You're a Marvel head, aren't you, Louis?
I do. To your core. I'm so in love with it. But I mean,
you struggle to dog on any of them. I feel.
It's very true. I am. I say it straight up. I am drinking the Kool-Aid for sure. But I admire what
You're
they do.
literally drinking.
I literally drinking out of a Thanos cup. You know what I mean? Yeah. Here I am drinking it. But I admire what they do. I think, you know, even the limitations they have on the production side and what they try to get across, you know, it's difficult. It's a hard place to be, but they really pull it off. And oh my God, I mean, what, 18 plus 23? I don't know how much that is, but they're pretty consistent on getting out some good stuff. You know what I mean? And box office hits too. Like, think of another franchise that's going back to 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 back that's doing all of these things consistently, and people are still churning out and showing up. You know, I'm not saying it's perfect, but they are. Look, they're trying.
It's overwhelming, but they could spread it out a little bit. Absolutely. I mean,
but they're under they're under the weight of Disney to, I feel like, to pump these out, right? I mean, what do you think, Francesca?
I think it's like actually the opposite. Like, I mean, you know, they have these phases planned out, you know. 3 years ago is like when we saw the almost full list of like everything Kevin Feige wanted to release. So Disney Plus was just like, okay, we know you want to release them one by one, so we'll let you release them one by one, but they are playing by his release schedules.
Yeah.
But listening to you and like everyone, like, mentioning how like it is a lot. I think if you just looked out of the 18 things that came out, like only a handful were just movies. Yeah, and for the people who don't have Disney Plus, like, it's very much fine to like not have watched any of the TV shows, I feel, because you see Wanda in Doctor Strange, and you see like the movies were Black Widow, Eternals, Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Thor Love and Thunder, and Black Panther Wakanda Forever. All of those, except for Shang-Chi and Eternals, are characters we know already.
Yeah.
And like the TV shows were more supplementary and like meant to just build out their characters so you can kind of understand why Wanda has kids that she suddenly wants. But for the casual fan, I guess, who just want to watch the movies, they'll be like, oh yeah, Wanda has those kids, and now we see her wanting them back. But
And in true form, that's like comics. You know what I mean? Like when it's like truly replicating the comic medium. You know what I mean? Where you don't have to, if you're overwhelmed, literally just start anywhere. Start with a character, and you'll go from there, because it really will be. You will never get the full frame picture. You'll always get the in between, and you'll never get the edges. And so this is like truly replicating that experience of, I'll go to the comic store, try to pick some stuff up. I have no idea who they're talking about. Where did this character come from? What's his history? Why is he showing up now? Why is Loki a girl again? It's like, what did I miss? And I think it is replicating that vibe. I do want to point out where people are saying where's the direction of Phase 4. They feel like it's aimless, that there's nothing really tying it together. And I know, Francesca, you're working on a piece right now that's kind of like explaining that. And I just wanted us to like chat about that and talk about it.
Yeah, I know. I told you what those points are, but for Miguel and Ed, I see it. Of course, it is a rebuilding phase, but it is a reaction to Phase 3 while also setting up for Phases 5 and 6. But it's a mourning period. It's like Endgame just happened. Tony's dead. Steve is like now in his older age. Natasha's gone. Like the main cast is gone, and like all the side characters and supporting characters we've met in like Phases 2 and 3 are like now having to step up. And like with sports, sorry, my cat's having zoomies right now. You have your rebuilding phases, you have your rebuilding seasons, you have your new players who are like being bumped up, and now you have to build a team around them. So that's like partially what it is, but the way that we saw the Infinity Stones come into play in Phases 1 and 2, and then ultimately like 2 and 3, like with Thanos and everything. I'm trying to stop her. Like we're also seeing like more thematic things come to play, and I'll let Luis kind of touch on some of them, because I was like, he, like, before I even like really got into it, he was also saying some of the things I was touching on in my piece.
Yeah, I think the way that Order 66 impacted so much in Star Wars, I think the snap affected so many things. I mean, you were dealing with it with WandaVision, with Monica Rambeau, with what else? Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You saw it with Hawkeye, with Yelena. Everyone is dealing with this trauma of the snap, and so that is a huge thematic arc in this whole thing. And it's also dealing with trauma and other parts of the show with Moon Knight. You know what I mean? He's dealing with his own personal trauma. Black Widow, the trauma of being used as a tool. Spider-Man literally taking on the villain's issues as a burden. Black Panther, the loss of obviously Black Panther. Wanda, the loss of her kids. I mean, there's just so much like trauma throughout this whole freaking Phase 4, and how these heroes pick themselves back up. Like 1, 2, and 3 were people like standing up for who they are. Like Iron Man had to prove himself. Captain America was proving himself. Everybody was proving themselves. Phase 4 is people dealing with these traumatic events, and it was all kickstarted with the snap, and it's just rippling throughout this phase. And so as you go through all these shows, you just see how people are coping with that trauma, and literally some of them are facing themselves, not just like metaphorically, but physically, with like things like Spider-Man meeting Spider-Man, Doctor Strange meeting Doctor Strange, Loki meeting Loki, Wanda meeting Wanda, Moon Knight dealing with himself. Like, it's insane to see all these like reoccurring themes happening with all of the phases. That was one of the big ones. Another one that I feel like they're starting to build out to kind of for Phase 5 and 6 were gods and dimensions. We're starting to see Khonshu. We started to see Gore the God Killer. I kind of say the Celestials are kind of godlike. Dimensions, you see it in the Great Protector and Shang-Chi and that new dimension. And so, I feel like, what else did I think that's pretty much, I feel like trauma and the gods. And
the Noor dimension in Miss Marvel, and just the gods, like just like how all of these aliens, like we've always had Thor, and who's like from Norse mythology, but now we're getting like we have omnipotent city. You have literally every god from every like part of the universe, and then you have just different representations in different cultures, theologies, and mythologies also being brought up. And then, like, yeah, you have Hercules being teased, and it's like, for what reason? For what reason? I'm not familiar with Hercules from the comics, but give me Brett Goldstein any day, you know? So I'm very excited to see more of him in the MCU.
Yeah. I know. I was rewatching some of these like things that we're going to talk about, but it's just like a lot of these characters even are going through therapy. Like the first episode of like Loki, he's having like a therapy session, and the Winter Soldier literally goes through therapy. And so I think it is just like you said, a response to what's happened before in the phases. And I think that's appropriate, and it's setting things up like Miss Marvel and She-Hulk. These are new characters. We need time to establish them, and what a perfect time to not only establish them, but do something creative with that medium, you know, like we said with She-Hulk, kind of like breaking the format, flipping it on its head, and being aware of like people criticizing the third act, you know what I mean, and doing something different. Yeah, I mean, what about you guys? What do you guys think about that?
Miguel, really you've been quiet.
I really just want to hear everyone's thoughts about every single project. I know that's going to take forever, but like you just mentioned She-Hulk, and it's like, okay, She-Hulk was very divisive. The internet, seemed to really shit on She-Hulk. I really liked She-Hulk. You know what I mean? Yeah. Thinking about, the ones that were taking risks, that was absolutely like one of my favorites that did. I mean, I'm just sitting here looking at my top 10, and I know we're not getting into it just yet, but I mean, I'm surprised at, how many of the top 5 are TV shows? I mean, I even though I'm kind of like, I don't have time for all of these TV shows, I don't necessarily want to watch them all. I mean, some of them really shined. So no, I'm sorry. I just want to kind of get into it. I want to talk.
Yeah. Do we want to get into it, or Francesca, you have any more thoughts about the Phase 4?
I'm curious what you guys thought about like the villains. I didn't really get too much into it aside from like a lot of the villains were a lot more personal because once you have Thanos, which is like so universe threatening.
That's so true, yeah.
It's like how do you top that in your individual movies? So it felt like it was a lot more personal.
That's so true, yeah.
They're doing this thing that Disney's been doing a lot recently where family members are the main villain. And they're the ones who have been holding you back and all of that shit. So, yeah, I mean, now that you've mentioned it, there's not a lot that stand out, really.
Of the villains?
Yeah, because, like, I think Spider-Man No Way Home, there wasn't, like,
it's literally all villains,
it's all the villains.
None, yeah.
Yeah, they're not a standout, really.
Green Goblin didn't stand out for you?
Black Widow is Ray Winstone, just like a fat Brit walking around grumbling. And then Shang-Chi, it was his dad.
That was a very personal villain, though. I feel like when you're talking about these villains who are very, having a personal experience, that one, and obviously Wanda in Doctor Strange, these people have. And then was Miss Marvel, didn't that one have like a very... that one was, this family was trying to get back to that other dimension or something?
Yeah, and the guy, the boy that she liked or whatever.
Oh yeah, she became.
He kind of went bad, but only
it wasn't his fault.
It was reactionary.
It was like,
yeah, and it was really the man, like the what's that new security wranglers? No, like
it was this.
Not the DDO, right?
EDC?
EDC?
DDC? One of those.
Think so,
yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, they were the bad guys. It hasn't... And for all the hype, Gore the God Butcher was...
maybe like the most...
started
Gore the God Butcher.
The most disappointing one, I think, out of the whole phase.
Or Namor.
Yeah, right.
Namor.
Yeah.
He's definitely like been probably a standout villain. Absolutely,
top tier. Want to see his own movie?
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know what? Let's just get into it. Before we get into it, I'm gonna remind the audience everything that's come out. I think this is the right order. But here we go. We started out with WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, Black Widow, What If, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Eternals, Hawkeye, Spider-Man No Way Home, Moon Knight, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Miss Marvel, Thor: Love and Thunder, I Am Groot, She-Hulk: Attorney at Law, Werewolf by Night, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and finally, the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Okay. We're going to go Francesca, Miguel, Ed, and then me on this list. We're going to go from 10 to 1, and we can all give like a little spiel about why we, why it's in there, what we thought about it, blah, 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 blah. Okay, Francesca, why don't you just start us out? What's your number 10?
Number 10. This is not ranked at all. I'm just like looking and just going like, what was that? I think.
Are you picking it just randomly right now? Or are you just looking at the list?
I mean,
that's baller. Do it.
I pulled 10 that just like, I was like, these ones I did really like. I just don't remember my order that I did for work.
Yeah.
But I guess I'll go. I guess I'll do Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
As 10.
Yeah.
Wow.
And my list is also very much TV heavy, just because I think TV is the better vehicle for comic stories.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I just also love TV a lot more than movies. But yeah, Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Careful.
I'm going to be signing off. Thank you.
All right. Now I'm the third host. No. This is how it's going to be.
Yeah, welcome back. This is me, Miguel, Francesca. Welcome to Punch Up Nerd.
No hesitation there.
All right, yeah, Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I just really liked their dynamic, and I liked how grounded it was of a return heading into Phase 4 right after the very stylized WandaVision. And yeah, just really their chemistry, and Captain America was such a big character. Like, that title was so important to the Avengers and all of Infinity Saga, and that handoff was like literally the last thing you see in Endgame.
Yeah.
It's just very important, and it's a very important moment for superheroes and movies and representation for Sam Wilson and Anthony Mackie and all that. And I think that's really awesome. And I just can't wait to see what happens next for him. And I really appreciated some of the issues that they did touch upon.
Yeah, I think you're totally right about after all this fantastical stuff going into Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I felt as I was watching the episode, I was like, oh, wow, I'm not really dealing with any superhero stuff. This is all like family issues. This is all personality. This is all relationship stuff. And I appreciated that moment, like when he's talking with his sister. Was his sister, right? And he's like dealing with like the boat and like, they have to sell it. And like these are real personal issues outside of also the racial issues, the superhero issues, the government issues. But there are a lot of moments where we're just kind of sitting there and kind of enjoying everybody's company. And that was refreshing to me. I do think it is on my list, and I do think it's not near the top. Also, just because I know I felt like the ending wasn't as strong. But really everything else, it's still in my top 10. And we'll see where it lands. But I liked Falcon. Let's see, who's next? Is it Miguel?
Yeah.
It is me. Okay, cool. Starting with number 10. I'm putting Shang-Chi, number 10. Yeah. I did have trouble coming up with my top 10. I think the bottom 3 I really kind of had to add to round out a top 10. Shang-Chi, excuse me. I'm interested to see where he's going to go. I think it's cool that the director of that movie is doing the Avengers movies, so that's kind of exciting. It's like, oh, okay, like he's going to end up playing a bigger role. I want to see what happens with that. I think the setup is interesting. Number 10, right at the bottom.
Number 10. Ed, what's your number 10?
All right. Well, this is like fresh on my mind, but I did have a good time with it, and it was all just mix up from the norm. It was Guardians Xmas special. I say Xmas because that's what I wrote. The Christmas special. Sarah and I watched it last night, and it was fun, sweet, and we actually got to see a bit more to Mantis's character, which I wasn't expecting. With Christmas movies, really what you want to take away, what makes a good Christmas movie is like the warm fuzzies at the end where you feel like, yes, this is Christmas.
Yeah.
And this kind of nailed that. Whenever they introduce or bring Peter out to see all the lights and stuff, it was really kind of a sweet, touching moment. And you guys were talking about trauma earlier, like, clearly Peter Quill is still going through that. And I know it's just like a little one-off, but if anything this phase has proven is that these little one-offs are kind of like what you need for certain characters at a certain time, or introducing new characters, which, I mean, we'll talk more about the other ones soon enough, but yeah, it was just like a nice little easy watch. It was a Marvel movie that I was able to get Sarah to watch, and yeah, so for those reasons, I planted it on my number 10 spot.
I totally remember that moment when all the lights went up. I did instantly get those holiday
my mouth
feelings.
dropped. I was just like, oh, that's very sweet.
It was very sweet.
Very sweet.
It made me want to buy a bunch of light bulbs to put in my house after that.
All over the house.
I want my and then I thought, how long did it take to do that? But I guess they had the whole like town of nowhere, or the planet of no, or the head of nowhere to design it.
Which hey, very cool.
And Cosmo, his like
Cosmo,
telekinetic
hilarious.
power. I also thought it was funny that I was like, oh, how do you do this cheaply? You get two like non-CGI, the two non-CGI characters to really lead the whole holiday special, and the least expensive ones too. Okay, so my number 10 is What If? The animated,
I like it.
So it wasn't originally on my list, and I was talking to my Sarah about my list, and she was like, "What If isn't on there?" As like, why do you say that? It's like, because you talked about it all the time when it was coming out, and I was like, you know what, you're right. I did talk about it all the time, and so it's on my fucking list. It's at number 10. I didn't want to like it originally. I was like, I wasn't sold on the animation style, and then I got into it, and I'm a sucker for romantic comedies. All right, so when I saw that first Carter episode, and her and Steve, I was like, okay, I loved that episode. I love the Doctor Strange episode. It's like how fucking sad that was. It was I was crying. Thor episode was hilarious when he's like fucking around Earth, and him and Captain Marvel face off and are just destroying the planet in their fights. And then the finale was, if it had its moments, obviously, but people were complaining about how Thanos quickly died in that one scene, and the internet was like all at war about but either way, the fact to see Ultron Ultron, right? So powerful.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
It was like, how are you really going to take this guy down? And then to seeing them bringing all these people together, where originally I didn't think it was going to be like an Avengers formula. I thought it were all one-offs. And then it ended up becoming like that. You know what it was?
That alternate
It was
universe.
that moment when the Watcher is like, Ultron saw everything. He could see through all different dimensions.
And he
heard it.
Yeah.
And then he
That
became
was
part of the
so
story.
cool.
And then you're like, oh no. So it was very cool. I enjoyed it. And there's coming out with season 2, which would be cool. I guess hopefully we get to see more of those stories. It's always tricky when you do season 2, because it's like, well, you want to hear characters from season 1, but you also want new and original stories as well. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be an interesting balance.
I heard a rumor that Ultron might be coming back in one of these upcoming phases. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I will say that because he was so cool in What If, like if they wanted to bring him back and have him be a big bad again, I'm all for it. I thought he was great in What If. So shout out, number 10. Okay.
All right, rolling into number 9. Francesca, what's your number 9?
I'm gonna pick Thor: Love and Thunder.
Okay.
I'm just gonna go for it.
All right, tell us about Thor: Love and Thunder, Francesca.
Okay, so I know Thor: Love and Thunder was like, everyone was like, "What the fuck was this?" It was just like
you waking up like, "What did I just get out of?"
Like,
wow.
Like we all heard that title at Comic-Con like 3 years ago, and we're like, "This is gonna be awesome!" Like Natalie Portman's coming back, like she's gonna be Mighty Thor, and we're gonna be like, "This is gonna be so cool!" And then you get Christian Bale, and I just feel like everyone was like, "Yeah, this is gonna like really move the narrative of like what everything else is gonna be next." But like, this was probably the most like I'm still grieving everything. Like, I have no home, I have no family. I'm like traveling with these guys who like really don't want me here.
They really did want Thor.
Just like he's so lost, and it was like a perfect metaphor for the MCU and like Phase 4 overall. But I just remember just sitting there.
Yeah, shout out the whole metaphor of the MCU. We're lost.
Is what I feel like a lot of people who were watching Phase 4, but I saw the vision. I saw the vision.
You got it.
Yeah, I just remember watching it. Also, I did watch it ahead, so like I didn't have anyone else's opinions.
Oh.
You know, you're just being like, this wasn't as great. But like I sat there and I like really still appreciated Taika's humor and just like Stormbreaker being so sentient and like having such a personality. And
I did like the Stormbreaker bit. Yeah.
There's I just feel like I really needed a good laugh. And this was, I think, was this like right before She-Hulk?
Yeah.
This is before July, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it also was priming me to really love She-Hulk as well, but I think I just really needed a good laugh, and I think everyone else did too, so that's why I picked it.
It's a funny thing, because I agree, like, when I saw it in theaters, I was cracking up the whole way.
Yeah.
And then when I came out of it, I was like, wait, is that a bad movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it kind of is. And I tried to watch it again, and I just wasn't laughing as much, so I just turned it off. Nice. So yeah, it was a good laugh. I will agree.
Miguel,
We're saying a good laugh is really where we're landing on that one.
Yeah.
You didn't laugh, Miguel?
I'll save it.
You grumbled.
Maybe it's higher up on my list.
Ooh.
Oh,
What a
well,
plot twist,
since you're talking, Miguel, you want to give us your number 9?
Yeah, no. And listen, Francesca, I'm just busting balls, okay?
No, of course, yeah. I agree. This phase was not the best, so you know it is slim pickings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
top
true.
10.
That's true. I mean, especially when you hear some of my top 10, you're going to be like, wow, okay, Miguel. Okay, number 9, Ed.
Eternals?
Eternals?
Ed loves the turtles.
Ed, I want you to know, I wrote a list of... First off, thank God for Luis. He put all 18 movies down on our doc, so I was able to like, okay, this is what... And of all of them, I just went down the list and I started writing every one from the list that I was like for sure liking. And by the time I was done, I had 7. And I was like, oh God, I got to add some more. So I was like, well, if I have to plump it up with a little bit of something, like Eternals was... I remember we talked about it. Going back and watching it for a second time, I was like, I appreciated it a lot more. So... Eternals, number 9. Ed's favorite movie, probably going to be number 1.
You didn't know that. You don't know that.
We'll see. We'll see.
We will see.
All right.
Yeah. So there you
go. So, you know, maybe if we had done this in another season, my list would have been a little different. But one show that I really enjoyed was Hawkeye. Which was set around Christmas time. And yeah, so number 9, Hawkeye. I thought this one was definitely one of the more underappreciated shows because I feel like from start to finish, it was more consistent. It was solid. It knew what it was. It wasn't like it knew what its character was. Like, this isn't a big superhero. This is a guy just trying to get home for Christmas. And he's just got his past chasing after him. Yeah, it was just like a fun romp. I don't know. We got to meet, what's her name?
Kate Bishop.
Kate Bishop, thank you. Yeah, that's what I was trying to think in the Russian accent. Kate Bishop. And then, yeah, we got to see more Florence Pugh. I got my introduction to Vincent D'Onofrio.
Wait, you didn't watch the other Daredevil shows?
No.
Oh my God.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It is a lot, and it's not a part of the MCU, okay? So yeah, that was my introduction to him, and that was a lot of fun too. So yeah, no, it was just like a solid, fun show. with a little bit of Christmas spirit sprinkled in. And I liked it. Like I said, I felt like it's underrated. Like not enough people saw it or talked about it. So,
hell yeah,
it's a good one.
All right, well, keep on keeping on. I can do this all day. My number 9 is Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Hey.
I know we talked about it earlier. I won't get too much more into it, but Falcon Winter Soldier. Love the little personalities, the relationships, building off more. Also, what happened to Agent 13?
Sharon Carter.
Sharon Carter, man, what a curveball on that one. I didn't expect her to turn so evil. And
she's just trying to survive.
I was just going to say,
trying to survive. Yeah,
is she evil or she's just kind of doing what she needs to? So
because they reinstated her back into it, and she's like, perfect. I'm gonna take over. So we'll see what happens in Captain America: New World Order. I think hopefully she's in that.
Yeah.
But I won't say too much because we already talked about it. And roll into number 8. Francesca, what's your number 8?
I really am just like, let me see what I want to pick. I think I will go Eternals.
Okay.
I think I'll go Eternals. I did, I was walking out of it. I did like it. I know it was like very long and it was very beautiful. I would have preferred it as a
TV
show.
Yes.
Because they've been in here forever and it's like, imagine all the set pieces and different because there are so many characters also, it's like it was
a lot
difficult to like try and get all of those dynamics but I think it did do a good enough job, at least with like their base wants, like Sprite just wants to not be a child anymore and et cetera. But yeah, I think.
How many times have you seen it? Do you mind?
I've seen it like 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
Now, but I just thought it was really beautiful. I thought it was like crazy that they got Angelina Jolie to like be in a MCU movie, and like we all just like forgot about it. We're like, yeah, she was in it, and now she's like, I guess she's in the MCU. Harry Styles is also in the MCU. What I guess.
Wait, real quick, were you pro or against that?
His casting, I don't know. I'm like neutral, but like. He's getting some real bad press, and he's not a good actor. So
he is not.
We'll talk about it.
And that's it for the Punch Drunk Nerd podcast this week. Thank you so much.
Right.
That would be my one critique of that movie.
The very end.
The very end. Yeah, and what was that character that Patton Oswalt played? Pip or something? That looked real rough.
Doesn't even matter. Yeah, so bad. Like something out of Shrek.
Well, I'm sure the VFX team was like, "You have 2 days to make this character. Are you fucking kidding me?"
Oh yeah,
how to put him in. Miguel, what's your number 8?
Number 8, you guys. I went with a a little fun Disney Plus show. My kid had a great time. Ed, I think yours did too.
Ooh.
Number 8, I went with I Am Groot. Top 10, Miguel. Top 10. Yeah.
You got
Phase 4 was something.
I honestly didn't. That was the one thing I forgot to watch. Like I was looking at Luis's list, and I was like, "Oh yeah, oh well."
I'm on the same page with you. I had like 4 of them that I didn't actually get to, and they're all TV shows. Simply just because who has the time? You know what I mean? Everyone's busy. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Miguel,
I think I just don't consider it part of the MC, like this phase either. Like I just in every list when I was like doing my video, like it didn't show up. But I would love to consider it.
I added it in there because it was, I don't know.
It came out during this time. And it's true.
It did. It came out on my birthday too.
I will say, we talked about it then, but I hate that on Disney Plus.
Oh yeah,
it's not under one group. It's literally built into 4 or 5 different things. I'm like, why are you doing this? They do the same thing with the assembled documentaries, where originally they had under one thing and you can watch back to back, and now they're
you have to go to that movie, right?
It's not even sometimes, man. Sometimes,
sometimes.
I try to watch
notes for the
Disney
UI
Plus,
team.
I was gonna say, we got to get an IGN list just of Disney Plus complaints. Okay,
please. If you're on Disney Plus, come on this podcast. Okay, we want to have a little chat with you.
Explain yourself.
Explain
Bob
yourself.
Iger, get on here right now.
We know you're listening, Bobby.
Bobby.
Hey, Bobby. What are your top 10, Bobby? Ed, what's your number 8?
All right, this one I also watched last night and have been hot on it since.
Hot.
I dropped my pen. It was Werewolf by Night. I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah.
I had not watched a single trailer leading up to it. I did honestly kind of just like write it off as it's like, all right, this Marvel content thing is going too far, and I just don't need to see like whatever black and white bullshit they pull up for, just to throw into the MCU for it not to matter. But I'm glad to say I was wrong. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a gorgeous, very unique looking Marvel film. If you didn't know going into it that Michael Giacchino, the composer, had directed it, like you would have thought that any other director would have done that. I mean, he really good job, and he composed the music to it, which is even more fun.
A burn?
Yeah, I can't tell if that was a compliment or a.
No, I just mean it was so.
He's a very talented
confidently
man.
done.
Yeah,
no, it was very confidently done. Very I mean, obviously he's been taking notes. But yeah, no, I thought it was really good. It was 50 minutes long. It had a great cast of characters that I really enjoyed. Phoebe from Frasier is in there. Frasier's agent. I'm blanking on her name, but I adore her. It was it was a lot of fun. Like I said, I liked the look, the black and white look. We got to meet Man-Thing, which was a nice surprise. And that was like a nice little addition. Like, if we never see those characters again, I would be okay with just a singular outing. I thought it was a lot of fun. But they're introducing this kind of subworld where I can see them introducing Blade and other characters and stuff like that. So Werewolf by Night, number 8 for me. It would maybe higher if I see it more and whatever. Yeah. But yeah,
we'll check back in with you in a year and see how you feel about it. Okay?
Yeah,
your little phase 4 re-up.
My number 8 is Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness. It's on my list. I know that was another controversial movie from some people, but I love Lizzie. Lizzie Olsen. Man. She's amazing. I call her Lizzie because she's my friend. So she's incredible. I always prioritize performance over a lot of stuff. Like if there's great performances in the show, it's awesome for me. So she was great. Also, Sam Raimi, some of his direction and all that cool visuals that he had in this thing made me love the movie. And it's obviously not my top 5 of Phase 4, but I had to put it in my top 10 just because of the Scarlet Witch and Sam Raimi. Those two combo.
I respect it. I respect your reasoning for that because I did like it, but it's spoiler not in my list.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think that movie was when I started defending this entire phase to people because they were just again, or I guess before Thor, what the fuck is happening? What is this did nothing. Everyone was this did nothing, and I'm well, it's not meant to do anything. It's meant to just continue off from WandaVision, and if you didn't watch WandaVision, she doesn't have vision anymore, and all of that. So I respect it. Also, Sam Raimi, great.
And honestly, the trauma and it is the saddest.
Yeah.
One of the saddest storylines for me that is so hard for me to swallow is Scarlet Witch's journey. Everything she's gone through.
Good.
And she's such a good performer when she is committed and she is really putting
it's so good.
All in the eyes, and she's really putting everything on there. It's how can you not be captivated by her performance when she's pouring her soul out on the screen? She really gives it her all. It's such a sad story.
I was legit sad and thought about it for multiple days after the movie.
Yeah.
that version of Wanda was gone by the end of that, and now we're gonna get like this like alternate version of Wanda if she comes back in the future.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, the arc just from the very first time you see her in a post-credit scene of a movie to where she ends up at Doctor Strange Multiverse
so
of Madness
tragic
was, to me, the best arc. I mean, besides like the whole Infinity Saga, you know what I mean, as a whole, best arc of the entire MCU by far.
Yeah. No,
movie so-so.
But
yeah.
Wanda great.
Sam Raimi
it
great.
Made her children annoying. Like,
oh yeah, when they were doing the singing song.
Oh my god!
Oh, that was rough.
Yeah.
That was rough.
Drop a mountain on my head, like Wanda Maximoff, and
mountain.
Well, you know, like she dies in the end or whatever.
I will argue that while that was cringy, the kid stuff, you got to kind of write it off and go, well, they're kids, whatever. You can't really hold it against them.
That's what
they're
some people are saying too. I think that's what you're right about.
Well, hang on. I'll counter and say the worst part of that movie for me, besides the eye.
Oh yeah, you hated that VFX.
That was tough. Was the musical note battle. And I talked about this. I hated that.
Miguel, it was the best part.
I don't care. I'll stand by it. That was the worst part of the movie. The second time I watched it, I liked the movie a little bit more the second time. I hated it even harder the second time I got to that part, though.
Oh, man.
That was not good.
No,
not
that
good.
was so brilliant. Brilliant.
Brilliant is a tough, strong word from you, Ed. I would say you're wrong. And look up what that word means.
Remember when Black Bolt's brain just exploded in his head?
That was great.
That
great.
was
so good.
But my mouth was dropped. I don't know what was going on. It was
shit.
good.
I got to revise my list now.
I mean, and I'm talking a little bit of shit, but this movie is definitely on my top 10. You know what I mean? It is.
It's higher in your top 10 than me? Fuck.
Oh.
Yeah.
I dropped it out of my top 10 just because, I was thinking about kind of, we were talking about how, you don't have to watch the shows to enjoy the movies, if you're for the common fan. And I felt like this movie wouldn't, Wanda's arc wouldn't have worked if you hadn't seen WandaVision.
WandaVision was a...
You would come into this movie thinking, what's her deal?
Yeah. And then,
the annoying kids. I don't know. Something about finding out that Elizabeth Olsen was never in the same room as any of the Illuminati, the Illuminati.
Oh God!
That just takes it away from me. I just now I know that you guys are just standing in a room talking at a fucking whatever, a tennis ball. And it's like when all put together in post, and it just kind of takes it away a little bit.
When Ian McKellen was coming back as Gandalf for The Hobbit, right, and he was just standing on a green screen, and he got caught on a hot mic, being like, "I'm just so sad right now." You know what I mean?
This is not why I'm acting.
I don't do this.
Yeah, it's not like I was. Yeah, it's not. It's obviously it's not perfect, but it's in there.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. But Triska,
I will say in the original pre-pandemic timeline, it was going to be WandaVision and then straight into this.
Yeah, it
was going to be back to back, and I think
it ended up being a year between. Right?
Yeah, it was Wanda was the first, and then a whole year, and I don't know, definitely a lot longer than what was previously planned, and I think that's better because you know now the Darkhold is gotten the hold of her instead of just being all right, we still don't know how much time it had passed, whatever, I don't remember it, but I think the distance works for her turn, because everyone was like, I don't understand why she's all evil now. It's it's not her, it's the book.
Yeah. Notice how we haven't even discussed fucking Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange film.
Honestly, he's just a guy who's going through plot points at this point. He has an issue of you're always it's always your way, Doctor Strange. It's always your way. But they just talk to him about that, and he never really shows it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doctor Strange.
He had a quote that was it's hard to find the heart in his movies because he's just the fact dude and just like the problem solver. So I've
said it in the past.
It sounds like he's sick of it now too.
I said in the past, but I think him and America Chavez should have butted heads more aggressively, and I think that would have showcased her like the way she is in the comics, and then his egotisticalness that they were like talking about and not actually showing on camera. I think that would have really helped out a lot.
That's true, because she references like the other version of Doctor Strange that dies at the very beginning of the movie. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're right.
With the ponytail.
It would be interesting to see more of that. And I forgot to mention that she was to me one of the highlights of that movie. I was not knowing anything about her character going in. Oh,
don't get me started about America Chavez. To be honest.
I liked her. I had a great time.
I got too close to the comics, and I read too much into the character that I did have expectations that she was good, and she is.
That's why you don't read.
Don't read. She is not one of the. I want to move on. Number 7.
We'll be here all night.
Francesca, what's your number 7?
7. I'll just say it was Doctor Strange.
All right.
I did really like it.
Yeah.
We've already talked about it.
We've already talked about it. Miguel, what's your number 7?
I really liked, of all the Marvel shows that came out, one of my favorites was She-Hulk Attorney at Law. Number 7. I had a great time with this one. I really loved Tatiana
Maslany.
Thank you.
Maslany.
I already said thank you, Ed. She was great. I loved the break here. I loved the breaking of the fourth wall. You know what I mean? I think we did talk about this while we were talking about She-Hulk, about how that'll come into play when Deadpool enters the MCU. But she was a lot of fun, and I laughed the most of all the funny MCU moments. I was like, okay, She-Hulk's got me. I liked it. Had a good time.
I like that moment when it went to the home screen, the UI of Disney Plus.
Oh my god!
I didn't catch it the first time, but when she knocks it down, I didn't catch it the first time. The second time I was like, oh, it's an assembled
yeah,
just very apropos. You know what
I mean? Ed, what's your number 7?
Miss Marvel.
I did like that one. Yeah.
I want to go back and revisit it, but I just remember liking it all the way through. I thought it was a real solid introduction to a new character. Iman Vellani, is that her name? She was just adorable, and just like you kind of clung to her almost immediately. She was such a I don't know, just an agreeable character all the way through, like, and getting into like all the history of Pakistan, and I feel like even the finale was like a lot of fun in that they did kind of like a Home Alone-esque thing throughout the school, which was a lot of fun. Like they kept it local, you know what I mean? It was just like yet again like another solid show that knew what it was, knew what it wanted to be, knew its character, and delivered on just about everything. We saw like the development of her powers and not her costume too. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it, and I do want to revisit it, and it's got me excited for the Marvels, which I would say I was never before. You know, so yeah, there you go.
I like her parents too. They're really good at this show.
Yes.
My number 7 is Hawkeye. I watched this a couple times.
Hey.
Yeah. I think I will say I think the first couple episodes weren't as strong enough for me, but the last ones I really liked. I especially loved when Yelena came in and we got to see what happens when people got snapped, and she was kind of in the middle of this thing. She goes to the bathroom and it just kind of changes around her. And man, I've rewatched her dialogue between her scene between Yelena and Kate Bishop so many times. She just does a great performance in that, and how it starts off so friendly and agreeable, and then it becomes very serious and personable, and how like, you know, Hawkeye, like at this point she thinks Hawkeye killed Natasha, and so she gets very serious. And I think it's just a great journey to go through that scene of seeing like how joyful and playful she is to being very serious and how personable this is. So yeah, that's Hawkeye. Francesca, what's your number 6?
My number 6, I will go with Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Nice.
And I will disclaim that I did review this. I don't know if I need to disclaim that, but I did review this for work. And like I approached it, I was like, I am an Asian American woman. I know this is a big moment. Representation matters. But I did enjoy it, and I did think it was, it's like our first like new superhero in a very long time.
Yeah.
Very long time, to 2019 with Captain Marvel. But yeah, it just felt very self-assured. I did like that, his dad was the villain, and that his motives were very personal, and that, it's like, well, he's the only one who can stop it because it's like it's about his mom, and like his dad is like still grieving his mom, and it's like the learning about all the dimensions, like knowing that there were dimensions that were accessible. Yeah. I don't really remember any other instance of that prior, so getting to see that, getting to see Talo, also getting like Trevor Slattery back in like a comedic role. I know some people were like, this was kind of pointless, but like I liked it. It felt more comic booky that way of like, we're just gonna bring people back, because villains don't really get arcs or whatever. But now you get to see them again in a new light. I thought Simu and Aquafina's chemistry was like really good, and yeah, I'm just excited. And the point that Destin Daniel Cretton is directing and working on the Avengers, like the final Avengers of this saga, is like, Shang-Chi's going to be very important. And yeah, I just thought it was a very, very good introduction with like really great fight scenes, like on the bus and all of that. So, and yeah, all of the supporting characters, like his sister and everyone, were awesome. So my number 6.
Amazing. Miguel, what's your number 6?
Oh, so we've already overtalked it, but it's Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and I initially had it, just want to point out that I initially had it at number 8, but I rearranged at the start of our discussion and moved it up to number 6. Very good. Had a good time with it. Things I didn't like about it, we've already discussed.
Okay. Ed, what's your number 6?
Oh, my number. Oh, it's here. Moon Knight.
All right. Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah. Talk about it.
Moon Knight. It was a good show. So what I did, because I realized we had so little time to retread the whole phase, I just watched the finales of like WandaVision, Hawkeye, Moon Knight. So yeah, it was it's fun. Again, this is like another show that like intertwined its history and culture into the character that I'm all here for. They, talking about the missing tomb of Alexander the Great and stuff like that. But beyond that, I mean, it's like a great performance from Oscar Isaacs in the dual roles. I loved his wife. Triple roles, right? I loved his wife, Layla, in that, and when she transforms, like one of the hottest moments in all of the MCU. Just like when she becomes Towerette's avatar, I was just like, fuck yes. It's such a cool moment, and the action is so much fun. And you had Ethan Hawke; he was the villain in that one. So he was a pretty good kind of creepy villain, I guess. But yeah, it was like 6 episodes, so it was short and sweet.
Wow.
And yeah, I just thought it was solid and I didn't know much about the character. I know a lot of people had a lot of expectations going into that show. But I was pleasantly taken with it, and I feel like it still holds up, and I would love to see him in more or whatever films or shows, like if they do another season of Moon Knight, like meeting the third personality, and seeing how they all play off of each other, that would be a lot of fun. So yeah, Moon Knight.
Sweet.
And you get like a big kaiju battle in the finale.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Like, that was awesome. In the pyramids? Yes, please.
My number 6 is Werewolf by Night.
Hey.
These are the ones I know you were talking about stuff that we watched. This is one of the stuff that I rewatched recently. And actually, I know we talked about Avengers Assemble documentaries about after they do the movies or the shows, they do a documentary about how it was done. They do a thing called Director by Night for this one, and it's very different from the other Assemble documentaries. So if you're used to that, this one is definitely not the same. It's like a documentary about Michael Giacchino and how he's been directing movies ever since he was a little kid. And then he kind of like became a composer. And then in the background, he just happens to be making this new Marvel movie. And his brother is recording this documentary, very lo-fi style. And he's just kind of following his brother, following the parents. And then he gets to meet his old friends from like middle school when they used to make these movies. So it's a very sweet movie about kind of like more about Michael than Werewolf by Night. But yeah, Werewolf by Night. I love the textures, love the tones. I bet if you cut this up in a trailer, it could look like an A24 movie, just the way that it looks. I'm thinking about that tuba that they blow and it goes on fire.
Yes. Oh my God, that was hardcore.
That was pretty cool.
Man, when he's transforming into the wolf in the cage, and you just see the silhouette on her,
and she's staring at him. She's like, "You have to look at me the whole time," and she's like doing that like 1940s, 50s look.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. Yeah,
it's so good.
Luis, I don't know if you saw that in our group chats earlier, but you and Sarah should totally be those two leads for Halloween.
We did talk about that, but then I'd have to shave. And
it was such a cool look. I mean, he just have to wear a black suit, and but his like face paint is like, I don't know, cheapening it a little bit. But I know it's like more meaningful than that. Yeah. But it just looked cool. It'd be a cool Halloween getup.
Yeah, no, I liked all the direction of it. Like it was all new angles, new things that we haven't seen before, and it was great performances again by the two leads. And I love Ted. Ted was great. I didn't know Ted was great. I didn't know Ted was going to be in it, and it was such a nice surprise. And it's one of those things where it's like I love these little feature presentations because we get very unique tastes. And Werewolf by Night, definitely watch it.
If that's how they, like I was saying, if they just continue to do these, introducing more obscure characters that we're not so familiar with, and again, in just like these singular forms, I'm here for it.
Yeah,
build up a catalog of that. Yes, please. Miguel, was this one of the ones you hadn't seen?
I haven't seen this one yet.
Oh, Miguel, I told you. I texted you this weekend to watch Werewolf by Night. Oh,
you're like, I at least will be talking about it.
I've told you twice to see this show, to see this thing.
I know.
Welcome to the world of Miguel.
I don't know who you think I am.
I thought you would
or who you are. Okay.
Yeah, to tell him what to watch.
Have you seen that?
I will say of the 4 projects that I haven't watched, Werewolf by Night and Guardians are the ones that are on top of my list. Like I do want to get to those. Okay. So don't worry. Okay.
Let me tell you though, like I said earlier, Sarah, she's not a huge Marvel head, and yesterday she came home from work, and I was like, "Hey, I need to watch 2 Marvel shorts. One's a Christmas one, and one's like a Halloween spooky one. But they're like 15, 40 minutes. And we did it, and it was a breeze. And she enjoyed it, too.
Good.
So, just throwing that out there.
Thank you, Ed.
It was...
Francesca, what's your number 5?
Top 5?
Here we go.
Ooh. Oh, man. Now that it's in that context, I'm like, shit.
Don't fuck it up. It
actually means something now.
I know, it actually does. I'm gonna...
Wishing you put Eternals up, huh?
I'm gonna go with Hawkeye. We've already discussed a lot of the how consistent it was, which I think I agree that I feel like it went pretty underrated because of just how consistent it was, and everyone was just like, this was good and solid. Haley Steinfeld's great. She's like, she was like fan cast by people, and then that became true, and that's like very rare, and it's very satisfying for people when that happens. I did really appreciate. I was like curious to get to know more about Clint Barton, Hawkeye, out of all this, because we've only seen him in like crossover movies, and like he's so mysterious, like Nat, like you don't know anything about them. But this project, compared to Black Widow, which was just disrespectful to her entirely. No, it was great. I liked just, and with Maya Lopez, just the whole discussion and approach to like people who are deaf. I'm trying to remember like the disability or person led descriptions. But like that's it's just like it's a conversation.
Isn't that what that new show Echo is spinning off?
She gets her own show now, and like that's an interesting new, like, because I watched Daredevil, so I know Vincent D'Onofrio from Kingpin from there, and like his relationship with Matt Murdock. But now seeing him as like, he kind of like we're getting to see his like ties, his other ties in New York, and like building him out in that way, because we are going to get Daredevil Born Again, but he'll be in Echo, so I'm kind of like excited to see like where it goes with the spinoffs with those people. But I did like getting to know more about Clint in this whole process. I
also like that little owl in the Christmas tree that picks up those like miniaturized versions. Yeah. Remember that? Miguel, what's your number? What's number 5?
Excuse me. Number 5. Luis, you mentioned it earlier. Number 5. What if you guys? You guys!
My goodness!
I was really excited when you mentioned What If earlier. I loved What If. Quick counterpoint. You mentioned how
Carter? No,
Carter. That episode, that episode, that first one of the season was one of your favorites. Maybe one of my least favorites of the overall season. Mainly because I felt like we were just like really rehashing a lot of the story points of Captain America.
I know I'm a sucker for romance, so when I saw it, I was just like, I'm here.
I think that was a good way to like get into the show, though.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. I thought someone was knocking at my door, and I was like, it is too late. Just to kind of like dip your feet in. It was just one of those things where, we're doing an episode week by week, and I was like, all right, I'm ready to get into it. But once we really got going with that show, I was hooked, and I loved that they really did start the season with every episode being kind of its own contained thing, and then coming together at the end. Was really fun. And again, just because maybe Ultron in Avengers Age of Ultron wasn't everyone's favorite, Ultron in this What If show, awesome, amazing, top 10, loved him. You know what I mean? So What If, number 5, I had a great time with it. I liked the animation as well. So I know, Luis, you weren't a big fan.
It grew on me. I think that's what it was. It grew on me.
I had a great time.
I remember there just being a lot of my thing with What If, and I did enjoy it overall. I think I just couldn't remember a whole lot specifically. Like just maybe moments. I remember there's a lot of tentacles, a lot of tentacle monsters and stuff.
Oh, Doctor Strange.
I don't like tentacles. I don't like that.
Oh, nice. So, not your thing. Okay.
No, I don't know. It was just sort of weird. It's something that stands out. I just like everybody rants and raves about that Doctor Strange episode. I was like, all right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry to bust your bubbles. And I guess I just hadn't embraced the multiverse yet.
You hadn't. It was starting. It was starting to set those seeds up even more after Loki.
It's becoming real. I don't like it.
Also, they talk about they do the zombies episode, and now we're going to get Marvel zombies in a later phase.
Man, yeah.
It's going to be like rated R, right, or something like that.
I'll take zombies. I thought it was kind of fun, so if they want to do a season of it, I'll watch it regardless.
All right, Ed, what's your number 5?
Let's go.
Number 5, WandaVision.
Ooh.
WandaVision.
Man, when I think back on this show, like the biggest standout to me is one Elizabeth Olsen,
Right.
but the final episode, where she is yet again having to say goodbye to Vision and also her children. It gets me every time, and just thinking about it is kind of like breaking my heart. But she plays that so well.
Yeah.
Paul Bettany is really good in it too. The Vision versus Vision kind of like intellectual battle was a lot of fun. And then, of course, Agatha.
Catherine
Hahn. How can you not love Catherine Hahn? So yeah, it was like, it was during the pandemic, and we were in the early stages of a new phase.
It was also
this one was bold. It like started off with those first couple of episodes where you really didn't know what was going on. The first episode, was it the first 2 episodes that were black and white?
Yeah. I think it's by the third they change over.
Yeah, and it was just it kind of just like pulled you in because you didn't know what was going to happen.
It also ended up being the first Disney Plus Marvel show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
I don't think it was initially going to be, but because of the pandemic and everything, that's what we got. And I thought it was a really strong start.
Yes.
To that rollout.
Yeah.
It was going to be Falcon and the Winter Soldier, guys. Just FYI.
Can you believe
That's
that?
right.
It was the first
the first one.
It was
not only
going
the
to
TV
be that.
show, but also a Phase 4.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Oh wow.
I think it was going to be Black
5?
Widow.
Oh.
But then,
right.
WandaVision
Yeah.
kicked up,
Yeah.
right? It's, yeah.
Yeah, it was going to be Black Widow, then Falcon and Winter Soldier. Just the most basic action superhero stuff.
Yeah, I understand their strategy for that. You know what I mean? Like, let's keep it, low key, nothing big, just like government stuff, and then we'll like go to the fantastical. But
We have to just clean up the ends.
yeah,
Actually, yeah. But I totally agree with you, Miguel. That's literally one of like my points with WandaVision. Just being like, it's the best way to kick off this new era of this new phase where you have TV shows now.
A new phase, new for Marvel, new Disney Plus was new. You know what I mean? And it was like really just one of the strongest showings. And I think reorganizing it so that it was first was one of the best decisions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it put the spotlight on Elizabeth Olsen, which was overdue.
Always smart.
Like it was, and from then on I was just like, yes, I love Wanda Maximoff. I care about that character.
We've talked about this before, but I think outside of MCU, Elizabeth Olsen is one of the greatest actors of our generation. Number one, is 100% going to get an Oscar one day. Okay, non-Marvel related. Okay, she's going to come out with a hot project. I would leave my wife for her, is all I'm saying, okay? No, I'm joking. All right. Top 5, Luis, let's go.
Top 5. Top 5 is Shang-Chi. It's that high. I didn't have it that high, but then I realized I've watched that movie so many times. It's a comfortable movie to watch, and I put it on in. It's just like, it's really also beautiful, that opening scene when it's the mom and the dad are fighting and they're doing that kind of fight dance and the music swells.
Yeah. I had to research a lot of that stuff.
Oh, really?
It was gorgeous.
Yeah, it was so gorgeous. And God, what else can I say about this movie? I remember I had so many things to say. Oh, the fight scene in the bus. I was like, wow, this reminds me of Jackie Chan. And I looked into it after watching The Assembled, and the fight choreographer worked with Jackie Chan. And so some of the nuances that you see in Jackie Chan fights, you get to see in this thing. Like just the way he flicks his jacket, like when he's in the bus. I was like, this is giving me Jackie Chan vibes. It's a beautiful story. It's fun. You get Morrison with the little creature, and you deal with these family issues and how he kind of overcomes them. But it's something that we've rewatched a good amount of time that we can just kind of throw on. So, and we know we've talked about this already. But yeah, that's my number 5.
Something I wanted to mention real quick, because you were talking about it earlier. You mentioned Francesca Trevor Slattery coming back. And I just think that was a really great opportunity for the MCU to say, you know what, we've made movies and projects that maybe we made questionable decisions that not everyone loved, but we are going to bring them back and find a way to make you come around to them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Not just saying that didn't happen now. We've moved on and we've forgotten. But no, that is a part of it. You know what I mean? In What If, when they kind of reference the Hulk movie.
You see Betsy again, and you're like, holy shit, okay.
And She-Hulk with him coming back too, you know, with Abomination coming back. It's like, you know what? This is the MCU for better or worse. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I like those characters coming back, and I'll always kind of welcome them just to see what are we going to spin it this time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, no, Shang-Chi. For me, it's like it's a solid like superhero Marvel movie. Do you know what I mean? Like it may not be experimental, it may not be this, but it's just like a solid, fun, like good movie.
Yeah, you know what? I feel like everyone watched Shang-Chi and we were like, hell yeah, cool, a new superhero, and there's a solid movie, and then Eternals came out right after it, and then that's when
took over the conversation.
started to go away.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So.
Ed.
It challenged people, and people weren't ready for a challenge.
Yes, I agree, but you know, the general public, they don't get it. They don't get it.
Yeah.
Francesca, what's your number 4?
My 4 is Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
It's just a very solid show. Very solid show. I really appreciated how the creator of Kamala Khan was involved with the show, which like wasn't the case with like WandaVision or like the other shows, but like with Hawkeye and then like Miss Marvel, they had those comics creators involved in some ways or like kept it faithful to the stories in the comics. And I had read those, so I think I read Miss Marvel, so I was like, okay, cool. I was like, whoa, they're staying very faithful, and the changes that they did make still made sense for the larger MCU, but was still faithful to Kamala herself. And I loved all the changes because, making it based more on her family just made more sense. And like, you got to learn about partition and family dynamics and all of that. It was just nice to also just see a different like culture represented and normalizing that. So I really appreciated it for all of that.
Yeah, we talked about it's just a different situation. Like you when you have different cultures and different people leading these shows, what they prioritize in their life is different than what we prioritize in our life. Mm-hmm. And so automatically it creates interesting storylines where, these things are her top priority. So she has higher stakes because those things are played out. And those storylines would never work, for other people, but it works here and we get to experiment and try out new stuff. So yeah, Miss Marvel's great. Miguel, what's your number 4?
Okay, you guys, we're getting into it now. Number 4, another Disney Plus TV show. I think. Wait, just real quick. Out of my top 5, only 2 of them are movies. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Number 4, Loki. I had a great time, you guys.
Yeah.
I don't know how everyone else feels about it or the general consensus. I loved this. I really loved the dynamic of having 2 Lokis and then later multiple Lokis and what that kind of meant. I loved the TVA and what that meant for the MCU, and then bringing in Kang, it just immediately made me think, oh man, okay. Like at the bigger picture on a small scale, you know what I mean? Like, okay, Ant-Man, I see you. We're coming in. I really loved the chemistry between Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson. Yeah. Owen Wilson, you guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
What? In an MCU movie? You know what I mean? Like, okay, bring him in. And he worked. And I bought the TVA immediately. And talking about the different dimensions and seeing it visualized, like when they have it on the computer screen and then all these branches, you know what I mean? This was also right before Spider-Man No Way Home, you know what I mean? So there was a lot of like hype built about multiverse and okay, what's gonna happen? I thought this was another one of those early Disney Plus shows that I felt like was a really strong start paired with WandaVision.
I agree. Is it my turn?
I can't tell. Do you?
How much do you agree?
Yeah, it's okay.
Will we see?
We'll see.
I disagree. I'll say that much. I did not like Loki at all.
That's okay.
I tried to.
And Ed do this.
I wanted to.
You and Ed, okay.
I had like conflicting feelings about it because like when I first watched it, I thought I was gonna like it because it gave off a lot of Doctor Who vibes, and I was very into Doctor Who for a while.
Okay. That's interesting.
But then, yeah, it was just like it was too technical for me, and I actually did struggle with like having it on my list or not, because on my rewatch I did appreciate a lot of the like the trickery or just like the cleverness of like
the lies and manipulation.
Yeah, just like she's hiding out in like disasters or like world-ending events, and I'm like, shit, that's so smart. Yeah, but I think like just on an educational level, like I think it's important. I just don't know if it was like it wasn't for me,
Good.
but it was like it's very important, definitely, like moving forward. But I was like,
my biggest thing is I feel like coming off of that show, and I probably do need to rewatch it now that my expectations with it have been leveled. But I feel like they just don't know what kind of character Loki is anymore.
Well, kind of like I was mentioning, Wanda having like and moving forward in the MCU is going to be the like alternate version. You're right; it is kind of tricky to pull Loki from Avengers 2012. You know what I mean? And I kind of bought into it because I was liking the show, but there is kind of something to say about how like, oh snap! Now all of a sudden he's caught up and he's the Loki we know, and it's like because he watched like some recaps of the MCU. Yeah. Okay.
Because he might as well just be Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
Which he is, but you know what I mean. He's just.
But at the same time, speaking about Tom Hiddleston, he put together like a class, you know what I mean, for the MCU, for that cast. You know what I mean? He was like, this is what's been going on with the MCU. This is where we're at. This is where Loki is. You know what I mean? And he's very passionate about the MCU. Yeah.
Oh.
And as like one of the, even though he was like a side character, bad guy, and then eventually brought into the fold a little bit more. I mean, he's one of the like not original cast members, but original.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
He was like the first Marvel villain to make an impression.
Yeah.
He was the big bad.
The only one to come back this many times. You know what I mean?
He was big bad. I mean, I think it ended phase 1 was him. Like we saw him in Thor, and then he came back in phase 1. Like he was the original, like, through line bad guy.
That was the only.
And I missed that Loki.
That was the only kind of drawback from this one. It was just like, man, they really did such a great arc of him becoming
I will
good.
say that they he kind of put him, they raised the heat up, and they kind of really did question his like motivations. It's like, why are you doing this? Why are you trying to conquer people? Why are you torturing people? And he really had to face himself. And I think Loki really was a person who was just doing this to like, he was doing all this thing just to kind of get attention, to get control, and because it's just a farce. Like it's nothing. He just feels lonely. He's a lonely guy, and he does have a good heart, but he just can't bear connecting with people. That's what he just has, this itch where he can never really have a strong connection. But he really does have love for his brother. He does really have strong love for his mom, which is, when he sees those recap videos of his mom dying, and it really affecting him to his core and then breaking him. I think that's consistent with what we've seen in even Thor the Dark World, or is that Dark World? Thor Dark World, where he had a close relationship with his mom. And even in Ragnarok, you see how it's almost like the Scorpion story. It's like, what's that fable where like the Scorpion and like
tell us,
the squirrel go over the river in the boat, and the Scorpion can't help but kill the squirrel in the boat. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
It's just like his nature.
It's his nature, and he can't help it.
He can't really change that.
Yeah. And so I don't know, because this is one of the shows that I rewatched recently, and well, whatever, I'm gonna spoil it. It's on my number 4. I'm jumping ahead of you, Ed. It is on my number 4 as well, but we're on the topic, so that's why I wanted to talk about it. But it is on my number 4. When I watched it originally, it didn't click, and then I rewatched it recently, just like back to back, and it felt a lot better. I think that third episode, Lamentis,
I do agree with that,
is the weakest one, but going like a 6-hour movie, I did actually enjoy it, and I think it's another phenomenal performance between him and Sylvie. And he's a person who doesn't give a shit about anyone, and Loki's our don't trust anyone. They backstab each other all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have this moment when they finally are able to connect with each other. And in the end, even though they're connected with each other and they trust each other, they don't align at all. And Loki is put in an impossible situation where if we kill this Kang, then worse Kangs are going to come. And then Sylvie's like, how do you and I not agree on this? Like we finally grew and built trust in each other, and now we're going against each other. And I don't know. I think the performances really sell it. Owen Wilson is great. Rewatching Loki really sold me back into it, and it changed like a tidal wave the MCU. Like after Loki was What If. Reason why the What If came out was because the multiverse finally split up from the sacred timeline, and you had all of this different shit happen. And so literally because of that, we got introduced into the multiverse. It spawned the wild multiverse that we're getting now. And for me, it was just kind of hard to shake that. And again, Tom Hiddleston did such a good job. But that was my number 4. I know I cut line, but I wanted to bring it up since we're in the topic. Ed, what's your number 4?
Loki.
Loki.
No, spoiler alert, it wasn't Loki. Sorry, guys. No, She-Hulk, Attorney at Law.
Oh, top
number 4.
Hell yeah.
Wow, that's a solid.
Yeah, man. You guys know, but when it first started out, we watched the first 2 episodes, and then after that I was like caught up in other shows, so I kind of fell off of it until after the rest of the show aired and it was all on Disney Plus. Then I went back and watched it back to back to back. I'm glad I went back to it, but man, what a fucking fun show. I feel like that season finale was what Marvel fans needed, whether they liked it or not.
Mm-hmm.
It's what they needed. You know what I mean?
Man,
it's just like it was a way of Marvel saying, yes, 1, we know what we're doing. 2, we hear you.
Yeah.
We always hear your complaints, but we don't give a fuck. And we're going to we're going to tackle it head on and address all of that shit. And it was just so spectacular. And so that last episode really blew me out of the water. But leading up to that, it was super funny. Tatiana Maslany was great. It was great to see Mark Ruffalo in kind of like, I guess, non-serious mode as far as Bruce Banner. And I'm a fan of the Hulk. I've never really watched any She-Hulk or read any She-Hulk, but it was a nice introduction into that character. And I just thought it was brilliantly done.
Can I ask Ed? I want to ask you first, and then Francesca and Luis, I want to kind of tag team with you guys and hear your opinion. Ed, since you didn't watch Daredevil on Netflix, what did you think about Daredevil and She-Hulk?
I liked it. I liked him, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I guess because I'm so aware of that other Daredevil, like the other show. I mean, it was more of just, and I guess we saw him in Spider-Man: No Way Home too.
Yeah, very briefly.
That was like his real. Yeah, so it was like, okay, here he is. It wasn't like an introduction into the character, it was just there. I didn't like his costume, but I did, because it looked like fucking ketchup and mustard put together, like a McDonald's commercial.
They mention that in the show, don't they? Or no?
Oh, do they?
I think she says something like ketchup and mustard. I'm like,
okay, well, if they do, then even more credit to this show. And I also liked his little walk of shame home. Now that I'm thinking about it, that was hilarious. Yeah. Sorry.
Did you guys feel
that question?
Did you guys feel any type of way about Daredevil in this versus the Daredevil maybe we had seen previously?
I think it's still the same vein of him. Like when he was in No Way Home, he was, and I actually did go back and rewatch Daredevil season 3 in preparation for like some other thing, and yeah, he does have humor, and like in the comics, I guess he is a very funny dude, sarcastic dude, and we actually probably didn't see that enough in the Netflix one. And actually, with the new news, like there were reports or whatever saying like the new Daredevil is like tonally like very like compatible with Daredevil. It kind of just now makes sense, you know, like you see him in She-Hulk, you get these reports that it might be very similar to Daredevil, and you're like, oh, okay. This is I do feel it's a very accurate, from what I've seen people say on like Twitter or whatever, that it's very accurate to the comics. So I also just very much love Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock. So I'm very happy with whatever version of Matt he like what side of him he chooses to portray. And but yeah, I thought it was still in the same vein very much.
I do too. I think Charlie Cox is a really good he's got a good like his mind wrapped on Daredevil. Like he has a really good understanding of that character, and so no matter where you throw him in tonally, he really brings out that spirit. Like just kind of when he's being honest in those moments, it's like, oh yeah, there's that essence of Daredevil that I've seen before, because he understands the character. And so I was along for the line. I think that was a little bit. I think I was maybe like a 2% like worry, like, oh, is it going to be too comedic and too slapsticky? But no, it was great. I thought it was a good fit into She-Hulk, and I can't wait to see more of it. Right. My 4 is Loki. We talked about that. All right, top 3, everybody. Francesca, what's your number 3?
Oh man, I'm gonna go with Black Panther.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I know a lot of my coworkers were also like, I mean, it wasn't as bad as Thor or Doctor Strange, but I actually don't even remember like what people were saying. Like it was solid. Like I walked out of that, I was like, it was emotional. I think people were really disappointed from my experience that they were like not crying as much. I did not cry at all. Like I was sad. I was like respectfully watching because I don't know. I didn't have the impression, and I cry at like a lot of things. Like I'm a very emotionally triggered person in life. No, but I had the feeling after watching Doctor Strange and Thor that this one had to move things forward, because even before the complaints that nothing else was moving things forward, like we lost Chadwick. So regardless, we needed to find a new Black Panther. Mm-hmm. And that was going to be the story, like regardless. So I anticipated not a lot of active mourning or a lot of active, like, we're going to be sad and we're going to try to make people cry. Like, I don't think that was ever going to be the intention. So I didn't go in with that mindset.
Yeah,
but I think it still handled it very well throughout. Like, I think Shuri was like her survivor's guilt of not being able to like produce the flower in time for him. And that success of doing it, that like when it mattered again, and like kind of marrying those ideas of like science and also, you know, cultural beliefs that she was kind of like turning her nose at. I feel like a bit of the Riri stuff, like I think she was like awesome, but it did kind of bloat it a bit. And then also Namor is fucking hot. Every time he came out of the water, I was like, ooh, oh my word. He like kept getting up close to people and like threatening them, and I was like, whoa, he's very close. And this is very intimate.
Anytime. Okay.
Like, you want, if I'm the princess of this country and you want me to like team up with you so we can like fight everyone, I'm like, yes, I'll do that. Why didn't she do it? That's my one complaint.
I'm blown away. I'm just blown away that the critique, I was not expecting to hear that about Black Panther Wakanda Forever, that I didn't cry enough. And I know that wasn't yours, but I just mean like the fact that anyone was saying, I just didn't cry as much as I thought. What? That
I kind of agree. I expected to cry more and I did not.
What?
I'm a crier. I did cry. I did cry.
I don't care. I don't care if someone cries or doesn't cry. Everyone should take in a movie however they feel. I'm just blown away that was like some sort of level of or bar that was set of if the movie was good or not. Oh, I just didn't.
Oh no,
I didn't cry as much.
Yeah, satisfying or just like whatever expectations they had. Like that, there was an expectation that it was gonna be like
that
a full on just dedication.
Fest.
Yeah, just like. We're gonna be talking about T'Challa in every single scene, and it's like
that would have been so. That would have been so. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
The whole time, you know what I mean? Like it would have ruined the story.
Yeah. So like I was surprised when I kind of heard that as like it wasn't something people were like I needed this to happen, but they were like. I don't think they spent enough time. I'm like, I feel like they spent enough time, and it was like very consistent.
3 hours long. Yeah.
Consistent throughout the entire thing. Through Shuri, who was like our new Black Panther. Right. So it's like, it has to go through her.
Exactly. I felt the weight of his loss throughout the whole thing through Shuri. Like you said, she is literally dealing with this thing where she's about to just like brutally kill Namor because she's still dealing with this fire. She wants to burn the world. She meets Killmonger because she has this like come on anger because she couldn't save T'Challa. Like this whole movie has him running through it. Honestly, when I saw some reviews, I was shocked. I was like, wait, like how can it be scored at that level? This is definitely higher than it needs to be. Like,
wow.
I mean, we talked about it in recent weeks. I guess leading up to it, I was a wreck when that trailer came out, that first trailer. I didn't watch any more trailers after that, but every time that trailer came up, it wrecked me. And I guess I was afraid that I was going to be a wreck during the entirety of the film.
Interesting.
And I guess to some relief, I thought, I wasn't, and they focused on other stuff. And I thought they hit all the right notes at the right times, especially, I mean, at the beginning, you could argue the middle, and at the end, obviously where they actually pay tribute to him. So, and I think that's what was great about that movie is just like it hit it in the right moments, and it wasn't a distraction. It wasn't a cheap move. Not that it would be. Like you from the first movie, you could tell how much affection that cast and crew had for one another and the passion for Black Panther as a whole. So coming into this movie, you knew it was going to be respectful in that regard. You just didn't know how they were going to tackle all of those things and how they were going to play it out. Like, how do you acknowledge something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Which has so much like real world ties, because like Iron Man dies and stuff, but you're like
Robert Downey Jr. is still on Instagram kind of situation. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely think we're going to talk about this movie a little bit more. So,
yeah. All right.
We should hold on.
Miguel, what's your number 3?
Oh, it's my turn. You guys, number 3. And I don't know.
My top 5, they kept shifting. I was like, that could be 3, that could be 2. All of these, I'm like, I could move up or go down one. So I had a difficult time with these. Trying to figure it out.
I want to say that I just feel like while I had a good time with this one, and I do think it is like top 3 of Phase 4, but I think because Phase 4 for me was a little rocky, I do kind of feel like this is like an obligatory top 3.
I know what you're gonna put.
And that sounds bad, but I did have a good time. Spider-Man No Way Home.
I knew you were going to say that.
I top 3, honestly, Phase 4. Lots of really good things going on here. Obviously, it was just like a big fan service movie. I think Endgame was a big fan service movie, especially the third act. And I do not think there's anything wrong with that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Sometimes a Marvel movie just needs to be like, hey, I just fucking watched 22 of these movies and I want something back. And and that's what Spider-Man No Way Home was. You know what I mean? Was it, you know what I mean, flawless? Maybe not. but it absolutely delivered on spectacle. And even though it was maybe Hollywood's worst kept secret, there was still a lot of fun.
That was fun, though.
It was fun. Yeah, that's what I'm. Yeah,
it was fun just being like Andrew Garfield. You are
it?
promoting so many other movies that you are Oscar nominated for, but we only want to talk about Spider-Man. And he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Can I please try to get an Oscar right now?
Can I try to talk about Tick Tick Boom Boom, please, instead of Spider-Man?
And we're like, no.
Oh, yeah,
excuse me. My goodness.
Oh yeah, Francesca, that's right. We need you on this shit. All right.
Luis is out. I'm in now.
You will have to be our producer, okay?
There we go.
Next, Miguel.
So watch yourself.
It's just gonna be Francesca. You know what I mean? Like Punch Drunk Nerd has always been singular, and maybe that's what's happening. Is we're just gonna pare it down until one nerd exists. Top 3. Spider-Man: No Way Home. Had a good time, obviously. Let's go.
Hell yeah! I did like also that we finally got the responsibility line.
Oh, yes.
Oh, man.
Luis, go ahead. I got the dogs barking.
Okay. Jumping in. My number 3 is Black Panther as well. This one's tough.
Wow, guys.
I had a hard time with these. There was a moment when this was at a different place in the ranking. But at this moment, today, this is where it lands. Number 3, Black Panther. Yeah, I don't know. We talked about it a lot. I don't want to talk about it anymore. But yeah, Black Panther, number 3. Ed, what's your number 3? Are the dogs started barking?
They shut up for a moment.
Kick them.
They're too far away. So my number 3, Miguel, Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Whoa!
Yeah,
the dogs loved it too.
Me too. Bark dogs. No, but interestingly enough, Miguel was kind of like in the same, like, is it the perfect movie? No.
Maybe
but
not.
Yes, it does deliver. Mm-hmm. And, like, MVP Andrew Garfield absolutely almost steals that movie. And as does Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, like, when he, like, I haven't seen the Amazing Spider-Man films.
They're not good.
But he's so good in them.
Yeah.
He's so good in this film. But then when Tobey Maguire walks through the porthole and he's not even in his Spidey getup,
right? I
was just like, I teared up. It was just like an emotional moment, and they play it so well. And we talked about it way back when we did our Phase 4. Oh no, we just did our like MCU ranking. But it just kind of like with Wakanda Forever, it hit those moments when you wanted it the most, like when they're all saying goodbye, and the last thing that Tom Holland does is give them both a good hug. Because I wanted to give them all a hug. You know, it was just, it was the best kind of fan service. And if that's all you take away from it, you know, it's still good. And it was all things considered, you're talking about a 20-odd year legacy.
Yeah,
that they managed to pull into one movie.
Yes,
and
it
that's
is
pretty
impressive.
incredible. It is great. Yeah. So yeah, Spider-Man No Way Home. I almost said Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man No Way Home is my number 3.
I will say also that I think it does finally put Tom Holland Spider-Man, regardless of whatever happens. Like, it is now, like, just him, whereas, like, he was, like, Tony Stark Jr., you know, but now it's, like, he has no one, and, like, Spider-Man is now, like, he had to really grow up from that, because, like, you know, he has, like, such a young face, but now he's, like, I have no one, I'm alone, like, I had to, like, sacrifice a lot just to, you know, not be selfish, but, you know, like, do it for... And he was learning that throughout the entire movie itself, but I was like, good new position for him wherever they decide to take him.
Absolutely, and of all of the high points of fan servicey stuff that goes on throughout the movie, him ending up, you know what I mean, like in his own apartment, in the classic blue and red suit that doesn't have all the Tony Stark tech, you know what I mean? It was our friend Sean. One of the things he was telling me when he saw it was that now I feel like this is Spider-Man. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I thought that was a great way to, that was like the end of that era of Tom Holland Spider-Man, and now let's see what he does moving forward. So, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Great.
We're out of order now. I don't know where we're at.
We're two. Francesca.
I think we're two.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so these are so interchangeable.
I know these three are so
I'm gonna go WandaVision.
Yeah.
Okay, WandaVision.
WandaVision. I mean, yeah, it was the perfect way to start this entire thing. And yeah, honestly, if it didn't start it off, like, I think I would have just been a hater with everyone else. Not gonna lie, I think I probably would have just hated it.
Wow.
Also, like, I was just very invested in it. Like, I read, like, I love Elizabeth Olsen. I thought, like, Scarlet Witch, and just, she wasn't even Scarlet Witch yet, but Wanda is just so tragic. It's so sad, everything she went through. And, you know, her and Vision are trying to create something. And I read the Visions, the Tom King run, where it was basically the story, but from Vision's perspective, like him trying to build his own family. And yeah, just like, again, I love TV so much. So like all of the tributes to like the different eras of television and all of that, like just from a visual standpoint, like watching something so stylish, and like, yeah, just like supporting characters that like we've seen before and like love, and now get to see in a different capacity. Like you get Agent Woo, and you get Darcy, now you get like Catherine Hahn, and she's incredible, and and then I did not hate the Ralph Boner thing.
I didn't hate that either.
I didn't hate it, like, because I associated it with a plot point in the comics, which I feel is like, that's on the larger scale. Yeah, I can understand why people hated it, but I was like, no, I could see what they're doing. But I just, that was like, they were doing fan service right off the bat. They were like, we're gonna bring Evan Peters as like Pietro and like give that to you again, but like, not just that, you know, it's like, it is fucking with her head a bit. But
we talked earlier about like seeing the snap. Monica Rambeau also has to have her snap moment in WandaVision. I think that was the first time we saw that, and that was also really good about it, especially her coming back in like this really hectic like hospital environment.
Yeah, actually, it was the second time, I'll say that, because the first was Far From Home, when you saw all the band kids coming back in the middle of the gym.
Oh, okay, yeah, I guess.
That's true. But this one was a little heavier.
No,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, just dealing with her personal struggle of being like, where's my mom? You know what I mean? But then seeing like the hectic of energy of like all of these people coming back and being like, what is going on? You know what I mean? That one of the things I thought was really ripe was that like that 5 year, the blip, you know what I mean? Like what happens in that? So every time we get to see those little moments, I'm here for it. I will spoil and also say that WandaVision was my number 2 as well. I think it was a super, like I said already, super solid start to this phase. Very little critique, you know what I mean, on my end. I loved it. I thought it was a great time.
How that rolls to Ed. What's your number 2?
Number 2. You guys. Nah, it's Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
Oh,
well, you guys. Awesome. Anything else to add?
Yeah, I mean, we already talked about it, but yes, I feel like with more viewings, you know, maybe it'll improve, maybe it'll worse. I don't know. Maybe I'll look back at it and think, nah, it's just shit.
I just didn't cry enough.
I didn't cry enough.
Crazy.
Didn't cry
comment,
enough. Not enough tears. But yeah, no, I mean, it was a solid movie. We already talked it to death, so.
No, we haven't. We haven't, okay? All right? So just keep it light, keep it tight, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Wait, did you say that was your number 2? Okay, so my number 2 is Spider-Man No Way Home.
Wow.
This was the first movie like that I got to go to a movie premiere. Like, I've never been to a movie premiere before, and I got invited to go to it, and I saw Kevin Feige, I saw Simu Liu. He sat right behind me, and he was super excited that he was in the Marvel like rolling credits, you know what I mean, where he like shows up with his rings in the end.
That's cool.
And he's with his buddy. He's like, yeah, I'm right there. Look at me. And so it was a great audience to watch this thing with so many big impactful cameos and reoccurrences, and like I didn't even know Daredevil was going to be in it. So when that happened, I was just shocked. And yes, the movie does play out almost like a little bit of a video game at the beginning when he's just trying to collect all the bad guys, but then it evolves so much more into it where I don't know, like he is becoming influenced by the other Spider-Man. And really leans on them for support and their guidance. And my God, that scene when Andrew Garfield saves MJ, and he started crying like, "Holy
that was
shit!"
Good. That was good.
I mean, that
the only issue with some of those scenes, and I guess like remember I had mentioned earlier about Hollywood's worst kept secret, is you do kind of have to assume, okay, if we're bringing these characters back, you are going to see some of these plot points. That was one that I felt like was kind of, what's the word?
Projected or like TV?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, just kind of like early on, I was kind of like,
I never saw the trailers. So I didn't know that was going to be like a thing or whatever.
I just
it took me by surprise. I will say that I was
because I had seen the second movie. Yeah, that if we're seeing Andrew Garfield come back, we're gonna have some sort of redemption. That was such a tough moment for him in that movie.
Yeah, dude.
And when
that's a fucking brutal death.
I think that was the only good part about that movie too.
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying. And then Tom Holland was about to kill Green Goblin, and then you get Tobey Maguire coming in, saying, like kind of stopping him and going into that dark place. And some of the great things about Marvel too is just that fun friendly banter that you get when they're just chatting about their lives. Like, oh wait, do you shoot a web out of your finger? Do you shoot anywhere else? Like, oh, I wish I was an Avenger. What is that, a band? Like that's the kind of dialogue you had in Avengers Age of Ultron when they're after the party, they're just saying like, oh, who's gonna lift Mjolnir's, and everyone's going back and forth trying to lift Mjolnir. Like that kind of like being a fly on the wall. That comic book energy was really fun to see. And it just had so much into it. Like you said, it was 20 years in the making. Like it took so much effort. It took two like companies to come together to get us this thing. It is ridiculous that we even got this movie. And so it just had to be up there to kind of give reverence to the fact that it shouldn't exist, but it does. That's my number two. All right, we're in number ones. Here we go.
Francesca.
What's number one?
Okay. I will preface though, it's like now I'm kind of looking at my list.
No, you committed.
No, I'm just gonna explain. It's like I feel like the back half were like choices of just I don't know. It was like the ones I enjoyed watching, but then they were also kind of like these were just like critically good, but like if I were to just do like a unhinged list, maybe I'll have to post that one later. But like it was kind of just like, oh yeah, like these were good, but then they were also like I also like them. It's like no, if I just did like without the critical part of it, I don't know what my list would have been like.
Right,
I think it would have been pretty different. But all that said, my number one is She-Hulk Attorney at Law.
Yeah.
Yes. Because I am a huge fan of Tatiana Maslany, and when she was cast as She-Hulk, I was very excited. And she is just one of those actors who she's a great character actor, but she has the star power. She can just transform into like any character. Like I think it was her and Oscar Isaac that I was like watching their performances, their first go as playing these characters, but they're such good actors that they just are them.
Yeah.
Like without the superhero stuff, I'm like, that is Jennifer Walters. That is not Stephen Grant, Mark Spector, but I just totally buy them that they have been these characters forever. Whereas like, but I mean, Marvel has a pretty good track record with casting anyway, but she is just so perfect, and she like walks that line so well. She's able to do the fourth wall breaks. She has incredible chemistry with everyone, which I think did just ultimately help with the show itself. I loved how we do get a taste of like what Deadpool humor and fourth wall breaking and like how blue some of these jokes can be. No, that's not blue, but you know, just not green either, but just like I got to talk an interview with Jessica Gao, who is the EP, and you know, I was like, I can't believe you got away with some of these jokes, like,
yeah,
yeah. So I think it was just also a factor of like just being like, oh, okay, Marvel is before even getting to the finale, it's like Marvel is willing to play, and like they know we have these comments, and like I was like sold at the post credit scene from the first episode. It's like Captain America fucks, and it's like
yeah.
Yes, it's like this is I just appreciate that this phase was willing to finally kind of address some things, you know, like kind of like hearing what people are saying and addressing it, ultimately kind of being like, whatever, we're gonna do whatever we want, but we're like letting you guys know that we do hear you, and that like but yeah, like, and just everything that we got this season. We got Megan Thee Stallion, we got Matt Murdock, we got,
honestly, that whole like
it was great.
Was ridiculous. Like I
was going to ask about this.
It was so blown over blown out of proportion. I was like, wait, this little thing people are freaking out about? Like,
that's what
it was at the tail end at like his East.
Yeah, it was a post credit thing.
It was a tiny post credit scene. Yeah.
That's what I think about, like, I mean, I'll mention IGN just because of you guys, but like whenever you read like comments on the internet, you know what I mean? Like people just really get like all fucking up their own assholes about things. And it's just like, have a little fun, like crack a joke. Don't take everything so seriously. Okay. They did something silly one time. Did it ruin the entire MCU? No.
I know.
Like, settle down.
It's like the opposite side of like, I didn't cry enough. It's like you're making too much of a farce now.
Oh, it's too fun. Okay, all
right. Speaking of Tatiana Maslany real quick, do any of you listen to Comedy Bang Bang, the podcast?
No, but I know she's like tight with the community, comedy community, which I also just very much respect. And that's cool.
She was a guest host on a recent episode after She-Hulk premiered. And, I mean, it's like an improv podcast. And they'll bring in, like, celebrity guests. But she was on fire. It was, like, one of the funniest episodes I had listened to. She's so good. And, like you were saying, she's, like, so compatible with anyone she's, like, working next to. I wasn't a huge fan of Orphan Black, but more so because of the show itself.
Yeah.
But you can recognize that she is like a huge force, and the fact that this is like, I don't know, her first real big thing since Orphan Black. I mean, I don't think I'm mistaken in saying that. Like, she needs to be getting more work, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because
absolutely.
Like, give us some leading roles. She's great. Yeah. That's all I had to say.
Miguel, what's your number one?
If I may, can I please respectfully skip right now and come back around to me for my number one?
Yeah.
Is that all right?
Very disrespectful.
If we go, I know. I'm sorry. Can we just come back to me?
Yeah. Ed, what's your number one?
Oh, well, you guys have been waiting for it all night. I'm gonna die on this
hill. No, don't say it.
I will.
I wrote it down before you even said it. Yes.
Eternals. I will die on this hill. I think it is. It still makes me a little angry at just how critically bombed. It wasn't even critically bombed. Just like how audiences reacted to this movie. Because there are definitely worse Marvel movies, but I think there are a few that are as unique as this one. I think, and my biggest regret is that I didn't go see it in fucking theaters.
Wow.
I think it would have been spectacular in theaters. I do understand what you mean as far as like maybe had it been a show, you get to explore these characters, but from what you get and what you get on repeated viewings from these characters, I think it's very fleshed out. I think Chloe Zhao knew exactly what she was doing. And visually, it's incredible. I love the ensemble. I feel like even the characters who you don't get to see as much, they still have a moment. They still have, you still see a connection there, like between Gilgamesh and Dina and Angelina Jolie's character, their codependency on one another, how Gilgamesh takes care of her. Makari is probably my favorite of all of them. She's another mute character in the MCU now, and I loved her reaction to Barry Keoghan, his character getting like he doesn't die, but he gets like attacked by Icarus. And her reaction to that was like a gut punch. Like she just like lets out a big like scream or cry, and it's just like so. All that to say, it's just like I found it mesmerizing the first time I watched it, and then I told these guys like I watched it the very next day because I was just so caught up with the history and all the textures throughout time that they intertwined throughout. It was just great, and I really, really hope that Chloe Zhao comes back to make an Eternals 2, and I really, really hope that they are not swayed from their original vision for these characters, because I'm so glad they got out of the studio. Like the real locations, I feel gave it a lot of depth, like seeing the city of Babylon and the Aztec kingdom and stuff like that. It's just I feel like there's so much there that people are missing, and I would just implore anybody to give it another go, because there's so much more to it than what you think if you just give it the time.
Yeah.
But I like I said, had I been able to see Black Panther a few more times or whatever, or any of these shows, I mean, my list might have varied. A lot of these are going off of one view only, but Eternals
was always number one for you, Ed.
I mean, that was the first one that I was confident about on my entire list.
We know.
I adore it. Of the entire MCU, it's one of my favorites. So Eternals, thank you.
I'm right there with you, man. I think, just quickly, I think everyone got it's very mesmerizing, but it is also a lot, and I think either way, people were kind of just like, wow, that was so much of an experience, but I don't really know what's the point of it. Exactly.
Right.
And when I was working on my piece, I think when I finally cracked, like, how do I defend this? Like, what is the importance of this going to be later on? And kind of just seeing like how, like the reveal that it was going to be a celestial like incubator, and it just being like, oh my God, like, feeling that twist with them, it was very satisfying. And it's just like, wow, like, we're still fucked here. Like, no, like, they're not going to stop leaving us alone. And it's just like, just all of that overall theme. Also, with like a lot of these movies, you're just like, oh, wow, we still have a lot ahead of us and need defending from.
And knowing that on repeat viewings too, you understand. Like, I know a lot of people complained about Richard Madden being very wooden, but like on repeat viewings, you understand why that is. Like, once you know the twist.
Yeah.
Right. He's protected.
Then you understand why he's so withdrawn and cold, and it's I mean, it works on a lot of levels. So, and again, like that finale, the visual, just and how what was it we just watched recently? One of the shows recently, I was just like, they could have easily had a set piece on that celestial rock now, if you want to call it that.
Well, you know what's funny is the new comic run of Jason Aaron, the headquarters of the Avengers is in a celestial. So I don't know.
Cool.
I mean, that'd be very cool.
That would be cool.
Because then they utilize the celestial's veins and blood as power to power it up.
Ooh.
And so they're able to like use its technology to build up and do new cool stuff. I don't think they'll do that. They'll probably do like Young and West Coast before that, but
I don't know. With the complaint being like, there's the celestial sitting out, of the atmosphere, just like there, right? Like people are like, we should come back to that.
Well,
so that would be kind of a really cool way.
A lot of people are taking like, stealing that stuff. Like they took Vision's body, they took gear from the 2012 New York attack. Like the government is ready to take everything, So it would make sense that they're going to want to investigate the Celestials too. Vibranium. I have to rewatch Eternals. I've only watched it once. So Ed, you're making me want to rewatch it though.
I want to rewatch it. I'm just gonna like log out and start watching it.
Miguel, have you picked your one yet?
That makes me think. That makes me think you have a big one you want to talk about. You want to save.
And me?
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, it could only be
no. Luis, go ahead.
My one. What do you think my number one is, Ed?
Oh man,
me?
Yeah. What do you think it is?
I haven't been keeping track of your 10.
Oh, but you said at this point it must be what? That's what you said, right?
Oh, I was really kind of suggesting Miguel's number one.
Oh,
okay.
My number one is WandaVision.
Oh,
yeah, I like
okay.
WandaVision. I rewatched WandaVision, Loki, and Werewolf by Night in the past week. And I really, really enjoyed WandaVision. I think Lizzie Olsen's phenomenal. Catherine is amazing. Paul Bettany is great. I think he deals with all of these themes of the MCU, of trauma, of like these, magic, of dealing with the snap, even quote unquote gods, because where did the Darkhold come from? It came from the dark demon Cathan, which is like blah, 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 blah. We don't know anything about that. But
Mephisto.
Yeah, Mephisto. I never thought it was Mephisto. It was just so impactful to me, even on the rewatching. I was tearing up at the end. I texted Sarah. I was like, "I love you," and all these things, and I was just like torn apart. And then when she finally lets go of the hex, and she's just there left alone with nothing again, and just kind of puts her hoodie over her and walks away. And then watching the assembled episode, it's just like the care they put into each thing. They were even bragging about how in the 40s and 50s episodes, they had a real life audience actually come in and watch them record like they would in I Love Lucy and stuff like that. And they were like, yeah, we even brought these chairs from the 40s that this is like how actually people sat in. And it's like they're worried about how the audience is like sitting. They're replicating visual effects that they did in the 40s and 50s. They were using those styles of filmmaking to influence the story themselves. Like at the beginning, Wanda and Vision are so close and they're so, conservative. And as it goes on, they start becoming a little bit more liberal, and like literally Wanda has her hair all crazy out in her pajamas, and they're like no longer wearing suits and ties all the time or big dresses. And as close as they were as like the perfect couple, by the end, they were having a rocky relationship where, Wanda was stopping Vision from seeing her. And it kind of lines up with the decades of the shows where, as things got a little more liberal, their relationship also got more complicated. And just seeing how she's dealing with Vision, and it was great to see Darcy come back. I think she was an awesome character. Agent Wu using that close-up magic that he learned from Ant-Man, trying to escape. And I mean, I can go on and on about this, but I don't want to keep going. We've already talked about WandaVision, but I just loved WandaVision. I'm a sucker for the romantic stuff. And yeah, WandaVision is my number one. Miguel. Now it's your turn.
You
Time's
guys. All right. My number one was Black Widow.
No.
No, I'm fucking around. It was
You're
Black
lying.
Panther. Wakanda Forever.
I don't
You
know
guys-
you. So it could have been. Imagine.
Yeah.
Imagine.
No, you guys, the only reason I just wanted to go is because everyone keeps saying, "Oh, we've talked it to death." No, like it was my number
No, we
one.
haven't.
I
Talk about it more.
I
Talk about it, yeah.
loved.
It's been a while now.
That's what. See, you see my vision, okay? My WandaVision. I just loved this movie. I'm blown away by how people were saying I didn't feel as emotional or I didn't cry as much. I was just invested from the very first frame in the black where you just hear Shuri kind of like praying to Bast.
Yeah.
You know, please let me save my brother. I mean, like just thinking about that is just like that really set the tone for how they were going to treat Chadwick Boseman passing, and how we were going to see the story through Shuri's eyes. You know what I mean? She felt like the world was on her shoulders in that moment, and she let the world down. And what that meant for her going forward. She also even a couple scenes later mentions like, I don't even really care about Black Panther. Like that's not my focus of finding another Black Panther. I just want to find how to live in this world that feels so empty now. I thought it was a really great, we were talking about trauma and grief, just yet another example of working through grief in a very organic way. I also think Ryan Coogler is just a phenomenal director who really understands not only Black Panther and the world of Black Panther, but just really how to handle kind of race relations. I think one of the things that people talked about as a concern when Namor was cast and how early on they mentioned that he was going to be kind of perceived as this Mesoamerican culture, how it was going to be black versus brown. You know what I mean? And that was anything but the case. You know what I mean? They really highlighted the struggles of both black and brown cultures, and how important it was for them to work together, even though that they had totally different visions on what that meant. I just loved this movie. I walked away from it immediately going, this was my favorite of Phase 4, especially because Phase 4 was just a little rocky for me. This one felt the most solid. It was the one I was most looking forward to. Yeah. No, 10 out of 10. Number one.
This was tough because at one point this was my number one movie as well on my top 10 list. And so it was bouncing back and forth. I was literally in jury duty. Like, you know, as I was editing, I was like, what do I, was it Wanda or Black Panther? Wanda, Black Panther.
This is what you were doing during.
I know. Someone's life is.
Excuse me, jury number 7. Are you daydreaming over there? Are you not listening? No, this is what I was waiting in the hall. When I'm in court, I'm listening to the cases.
I'm just also kind of blown away. I feel like whenever we do these rankings, I don't know, we all eventually someone lines up with a number one choice, and we all. Francesca, I know you're new to the pod, but we all had different number ones. You know what I mean? And
WandaVision was going to be my one. Like I have it here as well. But I was like, my gut choice. I was like She-Hulk. But
I will say separately. First off, Francesca, do you mind if I call you Franny for just a real quick second?
Go for it.
Some people don't like that, and I don't want to.
My whole thing, and I want this on the pod so that anyone, whoever watches this, knows this about me. It's like. Nicknames are very precious, you know. I'm not precious about what people call me, but I am precious about being introduced as Francesca.
I understand.
And then, you know, once I get to know people, it's whatever you feel most comfortable with. Yeah. And
well, listen, I'm not going to necessarily throw this out all the time, but I did write down when you said She-Hulk, I wrote down right next to it very emphatically, Franny, you can come back anytime. I thought that was.
Yes.
That was such a bold number one choice.
Yeah.
And even though it wasn't necessarily my number one choice, that was like, yo, you came in strong with an opinion.
It was. Yeah.
So no, yeah. But no, I mean, and with She-Hulk, Eternals, WandaVision, I'm just surprised that I'm the only one that put Black Panther as number one. But I also at the same time want to comment that I like, hey, this was a great that we all had kind of a different
it was super diverse.
phase for diverse experience on this. So
that's what I mean.
But I think it's a testament to the phase in itself.
It did have go ahead. I'm sorry, Ed. Go ahead. No.
I mean, that's it. I mean, it's such a mixture of tones and feelings throughout. Like from comparing She-Hulk to Black Panther in itself, it's like two vastly different.
Imagine
categories. But
in the theater, 2008, you're watching Iron Man. That we would ever be having this conversation of She-Hulk and Black Panther and Eternals and Shang-Chi. And here we are. Like, you know, they exist in the MCU now.
It just proves like everyone enjoys movies. It's a very personal experience. Like you can quantify and say like, this is the best. And no matter what, fuck you if you think that. It's like, no, everyone is coming into it, you know, with their own relationship towards like the writing, the topic, the performers, the production, the music, you know,
the amount of tears
the amount of tears you shed, you know what I mean? The historical references to it. Everyone prioritizes things differently to the comedy, the type of comedy. And this is just saying, you know, Marvel is dishing out all different styles and all different genres. Like anything that you're looking for, it's going to hit home. Something will be there for you, you know?
For you.
Yeah. And it may not be everything, but something will be there. And it leans into those categories enough, so much so that you won't like it, but someone else will really like it because it, you know, it like really commits to that thing. I know we're going long and I had this whole honorable mentions. We can do that, but I was just going to jump into expectations for phase 5, really like what we're looking for. Here's a quick list of what's coming. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, The Marvels, Captain America, New World Order, Thunderbolts, Blade, Secret Invasion, Echo, Loki Season 2, Ironheart, Agatha Coven of Chaos, Daredevil Born Again. That's not in release order. It's just kind of around there. And then I think Armor Wars, is that in Phase 5? I don't know yet.
I think that's now going to be a movie.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know if it's 5 or 6.
6, right. And then animation, they haven't really said much, but it is coming in this time. Spider-Man Freshman Year, What If Season 2, Marvel Zombies, and X-Men 97. I just wanted to see everyone's kind of like what movies or TV shows or whatever are you looking forward to? Miguel, you sounds like
you're ready. 3. Go ahead.
Sounds like you're ready to go.
We've gone long, and I don't want to keep Francesca, but for the sake of time, I have about 8 of them that I am excited to see.
8,
but the number. I'll only say the number one that I'm most looking forward to, and I hope that they tighten up and find the right writer and vibe, and the star feels great about it. I am so looking forward to Blade. I cannot wait, dude. That is the one.
Blade.
Yeah,
Blade.
I'm here for it. That's my number one. And we can talk about the other ones some other time, but Blade is the one for me.
Francesca, what about you?
Blade for sure. Thunderbolts, just because that cast is going to be like just really fun to watch. But Daredevil Born Again.
All right.
Our boy's back.
He's
here.
Yeah, that's true.
Maddie.
Ed, what about you?
Well, Eternals 2 should be on this list, but alas. No, but, I'm going to point out one that took me by surprise with the trailer was Secret Invasion.
Yeah, that's a good one. Trailer.
That one I thought was really intriguing. So, yeah.
And really a chance to bring Samuel L. Jackson back into the fold. I feel like since Captain America Winter Soldier, I've really been kind of, itching for a little bit more Samuel L. Jackson.
Well, he was in Captain Marvel. He was like
no, I know, but I mean like something cool.
That's a
you know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
version of him. That's him.
You know, his
A
scene
cool
in Captain America Winter
Kill
Soldier where
Fury.
he was like in the car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That chase scene, like
Yeah.
I want more Sam Jackson like cool moments. Let's go.
Absolutely.
Now he's got his eye back and he's all
right.
scratched. And we get
No,
more
that-
Maria. I like Kobe, so I'm
I
glad
like
she's
her
also
too.
back too.
Yeah.
Big fan of Colby on this podcast. I mean, obviously you have the obvious ones, Ant-Man, Guardians, all these things, you know, we're excited for. I mean, yeah, you guys are saying, I mean, it's exciting times. I think really I'm throwing a wild card here, but I'm going to align with Thunderbolts too. It's just a ragtag team with no expectations that I'm just kind of like, what is that going to be? It's going to be so interesting to see what they pull off, you know, with that movie. It's going to be the last of Phase 5, isn't it? Or did they push that? I forget.
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I do not know.
And you know, this is the first time I feel like, and maybe the only time, that Marvel is kind of playing catch up with DC. You know what I mean? Like Suicide Squad, bummer. The Suicide Squad, more so top notch,
the Marvel
top notch
Suicide
DC.
Squad.
And this is the Marvel version of that. This is like the first time they're kind of like, well, we have to do that too.
And I'm happy they're bringing back that Ghost character. Like she was just in it for so quickly for Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's like, oh yeah, great. I was wondering what was going to happen with her, and she's coming back. And then I am interested in Agatha because I just love Catherine. She's just like a great performer. Anytime she's on screen, I'm like smiling. And so she was really eating up the scene, and she really committed to the role. And I've seen her behind the scenes, and she seems to really have a good time. So I'm excited to see that. I mean, all of these are, like you said, Daredevil, Secret Invasion is going to be awesome. But yeah, listen, this was our top 10. We talked about Phase 4. Phase 5 is coming up. Starting off with Ant-Man. Watch out! Here comes Kang. You know, Francesca, thank you for coming. It was such a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're gonna have you back again. You know, Francesca, where can people find you on the socials?
Oh gosh. Well, if Twitter's still around, I'm at at FB Rivera. Instagram, not really work related, but Francesca B Rivera. And at IGN, wherever you like to watch. Is that copyrighted?
Yeah, nice.
I can't say that, maybe. I don't know.
And check out her piece on Phase 4. It's coming out soon. But that's the podcast, everybody. You know, it's been me, Luis Gonzalez, and of course,
Miguel Sanchez.
And Deadpool.
And until next time, later, Gators.
Later, Skaters.